new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by the one, the only, Timothy Turry.
Ben Hansen, thank you for having me here today.
And then we have the old tag team back again.
Yeah!
We got Joe Juba, we got Kyle Hilliard.
Hey!
One of the most positive responses to an episode we've ever gotten is the last one you two were on for.
Really?
I think so.
You must have lied to make me feel better about myself.
Yeah, must have been something unrelated to what Kyle and I do.
I was
especially.
I was drafting, I was composing an email, an electronic mail before this podcast, and I was filling it out to who's going to be on the podcast this week. Oh, Ben Hansen needs to know this. Oh, Joe Juba needs to, and then, it's Kyle. And like, each of you would have been great revelations for me to realize you're on the show, but together, for some reason, it's even better.
Tim, do you want to use that pincer kiss movement we practiced and get him right in the middle of the table?
Yep.
All right, here. Pincer kiss. Mwah. Anyways, I hope...
Gotcha. Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah.
We hope that you're listening to this, like, sitting around the dinner table just with earbuds in.
Well, one
That's
earbud.
right.
One
Yeah.
earbud.
Yeah, that's the way I typically conduct Thanksgiving with the family.
That's right.
Or just have those like little mini speakers plugged into your iPod, like at the table.
That's right.
And Grandma can't hear it
Shush
anyway.
Little
everybody.
meaning ear pods for the turkey.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. It would certainly be nice. But happy Thanksgiving. We hope you're enjoying your time. And this episode, we're going to talk about, basically, it's a holiday mop-up episode.
People during holiday, like Thanksgiving break, they're probably playing a lot of games. And so it's like time to either dig in deeper to Fallout or like, I need to finish Witcher or something like that.
And so use this as a spark to be like, oh yeah, that game. I should go back and play this.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a big ol' super version of reader feedback. And then the final segment for this episode is we're going to have a Star Wars chat because it seems like that time of the year. Get used to this rhythm, everybody.
It's that Star Wars season.
Can't you feel it in the air? But we're going to just basically talk about episode 7. Not like spoiling crap from deep in the forums or anything like that, but just kind of, I think it's going to be nice to have like a timestamp of like, hey, this is what we think episode 7 is going to be like. And then we can listen to it a month from now and just ridicule ourselves.
And I revisited like 1.5 of the prequels in that I fell asleep halfway through episode 2,
Right.
which is a perfect statement on my engagement level with episode 2. But
so I think the second half is better.
yeah, right. If you can make it that far.
Well, there's the Yoda fight.
I was going with your
because I was
eyelids.
sleeping.
That's
oh,
right.
Got it. All right.
It's more
Anyway,
imaginative.
so we'll be getting into some of the past, present, future stuff like that.
I'm going to sit that section out because I'm one of those people who like I want to go into that totally fresh.
But to be clear, so we're not spoiling stuff that you don't even know if they're spoilers or not. We're avoiding that stuff. But Joe, you're like a trailer dodging type.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm dodging trailers. I don't want to hear any speculation about like, well, here's what I think Luke Skywalker might be up to. I don't want
Really?
that. I don't want that rolling around in my brain while I'm watching. I just want to watch it and sort of take it in the moment.
Is it just Star Wars? Because it seemed like you were up for speculating about like Metal Gear Solid and stuff. Like you enjoyed that, don't you?
Yeah, it's Star Wars specifically in this case. Yeah.
Are you just that big of a Star Wars fan?
No, it's just I don't know. I guess like I used to be a big Star Wars fan, and maybe it's that part of me that really just sort of wants to stay pristine on it. I don't know.
Ben, Joe just doesn't like us that much, Yeah. It's like a date where it's like, hey, I'm gonna come. Let's go out to the dinner part, and then when you try to go for the drinks afterwards, they're like, I gotta go.
I'm pretty tired.
I got a thing. Yeah.
My stomach's full. My throat closed off. I can't drink anything.
I'm
I gotta get
allergic
going.
to interacting with you.
That's right. So Reiner's going to be coming in for the Star Wars chat. We should probably mention that
The Imperial March will play as he enters the room.
every time. But we should
Whatever
start.
that Yub Nub song is gonna play.
We just started talking about games, and clearly the biggest game release that we have not talked about so far is Mario Tennis Ultra Super Smash. Kyle Hilliard.
What a surprise! I was not expecting this one.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
It's almost like it was easy to forget about Mario Tennis.
Yeah, that was almost my review headline. It was not good. It like the core tennis is fun. Like they do that well. Gameplay is always just fun. But like there's just nothing there. Like the new mode, which I've already forgotten what it's called, like the Mega Mushroom mode where you get Mega Mushrooms, like it makes your character grow and you get stronger, but like it doesn't change the game that much because you don't get that much stronger. Like the only kind of charming thing about that mode that I liked was that if you get hit with a tennis ball, you shrink down.
That's pretty good.
Like you're taking
if you
small
miss
can
the
you get?
shot.
I mean, you're normal size Mario or whatever, and then you grow when you get the Mega Mushroom.
Okay.
At any given time when I watch Kyle play or any video of this, like at least like two people are huge, and it feels like it just is it just annoying to not be Mega?
Is it annoying to not be
Like,
Mega?
does it affect your reach and stuff like that?
It does. You can move around less.
Even so, though, but I remember you said in the review that even though your stats are improved by being Mega, it's not it's not like a
substantial.
dominating power up.
Yeah, like to the point where I was. The big thing is like when you collect it, there's a quick little cutscene that shows you growing. And in a tennis game, that's all about volleys. Like you don't want that interruption. To the point where I was kind of like I was like, maybe I shouldn't even grab that. Like maybe I should just avoid it because I don't want to like break this volley to watch a cutscene.
While you're becoming mega, like that animation plays out and you can't volley the ball back.
So what happens like technically is the game pauses, shows the cutscene, and then it goes right back in. So like if the ball's like what would happen is like if the ball's really close to you and the animation would kick in, I would just start jamming on the hit the volley button and hope that when the cutscene
That's
ended,
so
it would
stupid.
work.
That reminds me of like the 4-player Mario games where New Super Mario Brothers, Wii U, and Super Mario 3D World all do this. Where if someone dies, it does the sort of the and
the pause,
and whatever screeching noise, or it makes a weird sort of like tires skidding noise, or maybe it's just like a popping
I think it's
sound.
just Luigi just using.
It plays a noise,
really
yes, right, and then that person dies. So if you had hit the jump button right at that moment, you're just going to run off a cliff.
I wonder, has anybody ever asked them specifically why they do that?
I would no, not that I know of, but I mean, it's got to be just to make sure everyone is aware that somebody has died.
I feel like I brought it up when we were doing the cover story for New Super Mario Brothers Wii U, and then also like the roundup, and their reasoning I think was to give everyone a moment to realize that person had died. So it was to create a little bit of breathing room. But
It's the millisecond of silence.
Whatever. And it's just I don't think that. I bet they felt like what that did for the game was not as much of an inconvenience to the rhythm.
Well, and it's not like all of the Mario sports games have been, like, what do I mean, like, renowned for their focus on the competitive perfection of tennis.
Right. Well, that's what's a bummer about this new Wii U one, because like the 3DS one, it had a ton of bonus modes in it, and it's the same developer. It's still Camelot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and the 3DS one had this awesome mode where you're playing tennis, and on the other side of the court, it's Mario 1-1. And so like Mario is playing like auto scrolling through the game, and you have to like hit shots and take out all the Goombas and all the enemies. You can hit shots and get coins along the way. This wacky, super fun mode. Like just put that in again. Just do something other than the core garbage.
Nothing like that in there. Because like when you handed me the review, I was like, oh, this is cool. I've never gone all in on like a Mario. I've played them, but I've never gone all in and be like, yeah, let me dig into every mode.
This seems like a bad one to
Yeah, and I was like
to
nothing.
do
I
that
was really looking forward to those goofy like mini games and stuff. And none of that is in there.
Do you think they're going to be doing any sort of like Splatoon, Mario Maker, like post-launch support thing? Have they talked about that at all?
I have not heard anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, is that the game to do it with?
I don't think so, but like I don't know if they're going to start a trend where it's just like
almost-
some games feel like they're a little lacking up front, and then they have the
I
support.
almost feel like it got pushed out to just have something on the Wii U docket.
Is
Like
that
it's always kind of dangerous to make those assumptions, but like it really feels bare bones.
Well, what did you give it?
A 6.75.
Oof.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that, and then Xenoblade's coming up in early December, and that's speaking of playing games over Thanksgiving. I cannot wait for like snow to fall in Minneapolis here, and then to get some good RPG over Thanksgiving break time. That is the sweetest feeling.
You're the only one that can't wait for snow to fall in Minneapolis. Here.
Oh God, is that
Turned into a horse. Everybody, if you're not watching,
But Joe,
on YouTube.
what's better than snow time RPG time?
Snow time RPG time?
Yeah.
It's a good time of the year.
I like games with snowy settings. Playing Metal Gear Solid when it's snowing outside was really exciting.
Okay, but Chapter 4 specifically,
No.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
You know-
I'm looking forward to playing Rise of the Tomb Raider with snow outside.
I think that's one of the nice things about living in Minnesota in general is like, apart from RPG stuff, is like, I really do like those weekends where it's just like, well, too much snow outside. Got to sit here and like, I remember when a couple of years ago over our like holiday break, I remember Jeff Cork just like singing the praises of Dragon's Dogma. And I was like, you know, I should really start that. I ended up spending like my entire holiday break just like basically plowing through Dragon's Dogma.
Instead of snow plowing?
Hey,
Whatever. So
That's nice. Yeah, it's nice to have those dedicated vacation times. But
so you're right. I shouldn't have brushed it off so quickly. There is something cool about that.
thanks, man.
I mean, speaking of dedicated time, that's kind of what we've been up to at Game Informer right now. Is every year we sort of take some time, put it aside to play some games that we might have not otherwise got around to have more people that are informed on games for our top 50 games of the year. And in this case, we're taking some time to play games like, I don't know, I'm playing Transformers Devastation.
Basically, we champion and challenge is kind of the format. So somebody says like, I really think this game deserves to be on the top 50 list coming up at the end of the year. So I'd like to champion Transformers Devastation, for example. And Tim, you're going to play it no matter what you think.
Right. And you've already we've already got one day in on this at this point, or we're partway through it as the time of this podcast going up. But yeah, it's fun to have an excuse to to dive into something that you might have not made time for.
Well, and beyond just the top 50 challenge thing that we do, there's also the fact that like every year we do sort of a top 50 games of the year. And just in order for all of us to be like as informed as possible on those discussions, I think everyone just sort of like buckles down and is like, okay, I need to start churning through the stuff that I missed. Like
we become the hive mind, and we have to creep out in the areas that we're not strong in to be like, okay, we need to cover every base. So it's not just one person being like, there's this moment in this game that's amazing, and no one else has any frame of reference.
Exactly. So yeah, it's nice to have other people. And like for me, part of what was funny about it is like I was starting to feel super overwhelmed with like this was like a month ago, but like with Fallout 4 coming out and me having still not finished The Witcher and with Xenoblade Chronicles on the horizon, I was kind of like, I have these huge time sinks coming. I just need to get through as many of these like shorter ones as I can.
Right.
So I made like a little list of myself of like these are like 10 hours or less games that I can like get through and hopefully enjoy, but like get through and then contribute to the discussion on them when the time.
So rapid fire, what are they and what do you think?
Undertale, thumbs up. Beginner's Guide, pretty good.
Okay.
Thumbs sideways.
And then Soma, thumbs up. I can't remember all of them. Oh, Life is Strange, thumbs up.
Yeah, you liked Life is Strange more than I expected.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talked about that. Last time. Yeah, I ended up really liking Life is Strange.
So we debated all the stuff, and it goes on forever. We don't want to go back into that Life is Strange
Axiom
debate.
Verge? Did that make it in there somewhere, or had you already played
Oh
Axiom
man, I
Verge?
played the crap out of Axiom Verge like right when that came out. That's one of my favorite games of this year.
Is that another 10-ish hours?
That sounds about right.
Okay. I need to
I was really
man.
waiting, as a quick sidestep, like I was really waiting for that one to come to Vita.
It's
That's why I
it
wanted
seems
to
like
play
such a good
but
Vita game.
it's not going to make this year. I
No.
don't think. He had the creator. He had Child, so that kind of like threw off the making the Vita.
Boo.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, like, I have a Vita. I love playing my Vita when I can, but just given the support that it's been getting, I understand why developers are maybe a little less enthusiastic to kill themselves to get that version out there.
So do you think Soma deserves more attention then? Is it flying too low under the radar?
I guess I don't have a great sense of where Soma is on most people's radar. I thought that people kind of liked it when it came out. It was getting some traction, right?
For sure. And I think like another thing that is maybe, I think there was maybe like some more buzz for Amnesia, the Machine for Pigs and stuff, because it's huge on like YouTuber and streaming circuits and stuff like that. People play those games because they're so scary. And Soma had it was less about like just getting those scares and weird monster encounters up in front of people's faces. And it was a little headier and stuff. And the story is like a really cool sci-fi story. But yeah, it just launched around in the midst of just some juggernauts.
But what are your favorite games of the year for both of you then?
I think it's on my top 10.
I haven't broken down my top 10 yet. Like I haven't even, broken into that yet because I still have some work to do. But I could see how it's a contender.
How about Transformers Devastation, Tim? Where are you at on that?
You know what I'm liking about like Devastation is like you look at this year and there's stuff like Bloodborne, which is like a really cool action game.
Speaking of which, we have talked about that here later too, right?
The Old Hunters,
yeah.
without tack, we have one video up of our Chronicles. Like I'm going to try to do installments, hour-long installments. You need to kill Vicar Amelia in order to access the content, like the new areas and stuff. One thing you can do is get some of the old hunters to come and help you. Like Henriette is one of the hunters that you can summon, a new NPC, to come into a fight. She's got a Kirk hammer, and so I spent an hour trying to beat Vicar in my New Game Plus fight, and she is just a bear. She's still a deer dog, but she's such a bear for me this time around. Like I just hit my head against her for the hour.
Don't worry, I heard it gets easier after that.
You should probably use a weapon instead of hitting your head.
Hey, let me write that down, Kyle. Whoa.
The funny man.
Well,
voice.
okay, so even though we're not going in depth on it,
it's out.
I mean, Old Hunters, big release this week, and when Tack's here, we'll probably talk about
But he absolutely loved it. He gave it a
Adored it.
9.25. He says some of the best Souls content out there, but really hard.
And some of the toughest out there for sure. So Devastation though is if you look at like this year, it is like a video game. Like it is just
Right.
like if you take
I love those.
if you take that aesthetic, like that the sort of cartoon, like it's evoking the 80s Transformers like G1 aesthetic, which is like plays super well with the cell shading that Platinum is. It basically looks like a moving, living version of that cartoon, but much clearer. And if you layer it on top of like the witch time from Bayonetta plus all these sort of like, mid combo transformations into a vehicle. And then now you're juggling them. And then if you do another successful combo, you can turn into a vehicle again and hit them again and try to keep that rolling. And then this sort of gear synthesis thing, which is almost like Puzzle and Dragon, like sacrificing lesser weapons and then like absorbing them into weapons that you want to beef up.
Like
So-
fusion.
Fusion, basically,
Okay.
yeah, and that's sort of like their RPG-ish hook to the combat, and that can be like, for right now I'm playing Optimus Prime. I got like dual wielding frost swords that will like sometimes freeze enemies so that I can pull my combos off and extend them longer, or I can get out this huge lightning hammer.
Are they like
and be
actually like
slower.
windshield wipers, or is it just Optimus Prime holding two swords?
They are very flexible with the fiction in this, where it's just like, do we have a cool futuristic weapon that these robots can use?
No, I mean Optimus Prime can use his hand turns into that like energy axe.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
So I mean like there's precedent.
That's true.
All
And,
right.
and
Precedent.
the axe is in there, and Bumblebee's got his like twin blasters and stuff. They have like the archetypes for these characters in there, but then they build out from there, and it's really satisfying. Like I forgot how much I missed. I loved Bayonetta 2 and being able to just pull off a dodge at the right time, and you just do the same thing basically.
Can you pull off a forward at the right time?
Excuse me?
Anyways, the
No,
thing.
hold on. I have a question about this, and that's like, so one of the things that's weird about like the Platinum Games brand or like stamp to me is that like there is no guarantee of quality with it,
Right.
Which I think is interesting.
Well, just because of the last Airbender game. What is that thing called?
oh no, there's core, but like
Wonderful
Licensed,
101.
licensed stuff.
Well, no, but personally, I did not like Wonderful 101 either. So it's like, so for me, I think that there's like a fluctuation on it. Like, but I love Bayonetta. So like,
Right.
where on this? Like, I guess my real question is, how Bayonetta is it?
It's in between, leaning closer to the Bayonetta side. I think it's there's parts of it where it's just like this platforming stuff through the city and what you do in between some fights can be really kind of sloppy and feel like I'm just kind of using up time. But it's not so aggressively bad that I think it would pull away from everything. But when combat's like really clicking and stuff, it's no Bayonetta. Like Bayonetta is like maybe the best in that sort of stylish action genre. But it's close enough, and like that aesthetic and the how hard they nailed like with getting the original voice actors for like Megatron and Optimus Prime and stuff back. It's just they nail that aesthetic so well and that tone, and they got was it Vince DiCola back for just like this sort of butt rock guitar stuff. Like it fits really well. It is a quality Platinum game, and I played long enough in to get to the stuff that isn't just in the city, like on Earth, like you're going to
Right.
like these Cybertronian ships and stuff, and it's the Proud Star is the name of like some ship you go into, and you're fighting the Insecticons, and then you're fighting the Constructicons. They turn into Devastator, and it's a lot of fun. But
It's interesting to me to think about this game in terms of fanfare. Seemed like it came out and that week people were like, hey, that game's actually pretty good. And then no one's really talked about it since. Again, I'm always obsessed with how much attention games get. And it's interesting to me to think about it in terms of everybody constantly complaining about the Michael Bay films. Be like, just go back to G1 stuff. I'm sick of this aesthetic. Here's like fan service, and it's like it makes a drop in the bucket splash. Congratulations, everybody.
Oh, I think there's a direct correlation though between like how enthusiastic some of the community is about it and like how much marketing push is put behind it.
that's true. It's
And,
Activision
Yeah,
publishing.
and like Activision put almost nothing behind this game.
if you look at
we
them-
didn't even. I mean, we did not get our review copy of that. Like, we did not get an advanced copy of it. We like got it the day it came out.
It's got like a comparable amount to like Tony Hawk 5 or something like that, which is
Yeah,
another
they're
Activision
very much in the
publishing game.
same, yeah.
And it's not a knock against like Transformer Devastation's quality, but if you look at what Activision has to put their budgeting dollars towards, stuff like Skylanders or Destiny, like you can start to, or Call of Duty, you can understand how even if Transformers Devastation was a relative runaway success, like is not going to make that amount of money ever, but also. If I think that the fans of Transformers like G1, like those really, I think it's a really hardcore, outspoken, passionate, but niche group. I
Yes.
That's not to diminish any of their like opinions or anything.
We already
like
did that.
but-
Yeah.
I still feel like there's enough of like if you just look at like a group of gamers in general, I think that there's enough of an interested group of like people who have played and enjoyed Platinum games before and people who at least are familiar with Transformers, who maybe aren't the super hardcore like G1 fans,
Right.
but would still be interested in knowing that like, hey, do you like Transformers? This is like Bayonetta, but with
Right.
Transformers.
What about the-
and like that level, like you really had to dig to find coverage on this game.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's true.
Not to dwell on Transformers too much. I think that this game has a place on our top 50.
Really?
And it's one of
Okay.
those games that I hope that once the dust settles for the huge open world games, and Joe, you're talking about like getting into like some smaller, more just like, and again, like it's a video gamey game. And I hope that people come back to it after they finish up Fallout for the third time or whatever, because it's a cool game.
I think a good indicator here is that I know it's a busy time of season and whatnot, but Matt Miller, Transformers fan number 1, has not played this game yet.
Right.
That seems insane to me as far as like people like getting that perfect niche. Like he should be jumping on that and just eating the package.
I know. But you know what? At the same time, I'm excited for Miller to be able to sit down with a nice glass of milk or whatever and just enjoy Transformers Devastation at his own pace. Because like
Miller really loves milk, by the way.
That's true. And the Destiny hooks are deep in Miller. And it's just
We're worried about him.
even if he wants to play Transformers, maybe he can't.
It's a real problem. Hey, speaking of challenges though, Kyle, you started playing Resident Evil Revelations 2 after Tim shoved it down your throat.
We have, as of time of this recording, we actually haven't had the conversation about that yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not very far into it yet, but I'm excited to play it. Like it is one of those ones. I think Joe, we've talked about this a couple times before on the podcast. I don't really like episodic structure. I would rather just play it all at once. So like when the sort of everyone was really excited about it when episode 1 came out, I was like, I'll just wait. And then by the time everything came out, like, you know, there was other stuff that I was more excited about to play. So I'm happy to have an excuse to go back to it because I like Resident Evil a lot. I'll defend Resident Evil 6 as like a solid like action game.
It's not as bad as everyone says it.
Yeah,
It's
and
a fun game.
But so I've only played, I don't know, like the first couple hours. But I like what I played so far. It's weird. This is a weird. I think it's coming up just because we're still doing Quantum Break coverage, so I still have Alan Wake on my mind. But in a weird way, with the two characters, it feels like they've taken the sort of gameplay of Alan Wake with the flashlight and the shooting and like separated them into two different characters.
Weird.
Because Moira even like pulls up the flashlight and focuses in and has a meter for how long she can focus in, and she can blind enemies with the flashlight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not very far at all.
Any
but
berry stuff yet?
no.
Okay.
Just her referencing the Jill sandwich thing,
The
a Claire
terrible
sandwich.
incident. I played, I think I might have gotten to episode 3 or deep into episode 2, and then it's kind of trailed off. I was playing co-op with a buddy. We kind of just lost interest. So I'm curious, Tim, like, what is your perspective on Revelations 2 in retrospect now?
I think of it. It registers as a success for me. You know, it's one of the first Resident Evil games I didn't actually end up reviewing, and I guess in hindsight, I am sort of thankful that, again, like Kyle was saying, I was able to absorb it all at once. I was so impressed. Well, one, that they didn't try to go crazy gonzo with the controls. Like Resident Evil 6 I think is cool, but when I would think back to what I was doing with the controller, like Leon can like dive for cover and then roll around and like shoot from the ground and stuff, and there was some stuff that was like complicated in a way that I feel like it distracted me from just the core Resident Evil gunplay that I think has been solid since 4. And this feels like it's going back to that a little bit. You can move and shoot. And I felt like I really like the gun upgrades that they have, and like the skill upgrades, and the raid mode was really cool. Like they had dailies on the raid mode, and it's just like Mercenaries mode or something from Resident Evil 4, but you go in there, you know, every character has their own perk tree. You can pour money into upgrading your weapons, and it's just like a richer Resident Evil 4 or 5 Mercenaries mode. Very arcadey, very video gamey, and it's a fun kind of brainless thing to do. I really enjoyed that stuff. And then Barry, like the stuff with Barry is, I've referenced this before. I'll briefly say it again. There was an interview I had for Revelations 1 where I was talking about Barry Burton because they compared a character named Parker from Revelations to Barry as being like a family man, kind of awkward. And I was trying to talk about Barry, and like the PR guy leans over and says, hey, they don't really, it's hard to convey what happened in like kind of a shoddy translation job to create the gem of awkwardness that Barry is. Am I going on too long?
Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote down Barry Boraton.
Oh, okay, great. That's really good.
They nailed the character of Barry.
Basically, they figured it out. Barry is like sort of not totally self-aware, but is making dad jokes, and it's
My favorite part about the Barry sections is playing co-op and playing as the little ghost girl, Barry's little sidekick.
Natasha. Or
I forget her name, something like that. But like, she can't do anything except for point, and it constantly. Yeah, Miranda, something like that. But she can just point. So if you're stuck as her in
Sally?
the co-op character, yeah, it's all those names. It's just super funny just to like point to absolutely nothing and like run over somewhere and just be like, hey, go over here, and then or like as Barry's being attacked, just like quietly point to him. And when you're a spooky ghost girl, it's entertaining if you're playing
Right.
co-op with some drinks.
I think raid mode is more fun for co-op in my opinion.
Pointing's pretty good though.
But there's some interesting dynamics and stuff. With,
I think. Oh,
Go ahead.
I think that it's weird that we talk about this in the frame of an episodic game because like it is so artificially episodic.
Yes. Right.
Like it came out 4 episodes, 1 per week over the course of a month.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
The distribution method was definitely artificial, but Revelations 1 was structured. They did it previously on and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah.
it made sense kind of, but like if you have it done 4 or 5 weeks apart, you could just ship this thing together.
yeah. Well, and they
did.
Yeah, they clearly could have, and instead they just decided to like chop it up like that. Versus, I mean,
Interesting
versus something like
experiment,
Life is
maybe.
Strange, where it's like it's clear that they like needed, you know, they were using the months between. I think. To put stuff together.
I do like that Capcom takes those chances because, like, you remember, like, the Case Zero?
It doesn't seem like they're taking a chance. It seems like
Or
they're
experimenting.
yeah,
I should say
experimenting
experimenting.
by the-
Because there was an experiment with Dead Rising Case Zero, and, like, to me, like, that was one of the coolest, like, sort of, like, pay for a demo, but it is a kind of a prequel thing that feeds into your experience with Dead Rising 2, and it was, like, $5 for, like, a pretty, like, several hours of, like, good Dead Rising stuff to get me excited for 2. And I like that they play around with models. Maybe... You know, I didn't play it episodically, so I can't really speak to that. But
right.
yeah.
Hey, you were playing Joe. Disgaea 5. Do you have anything to say? What is that? Tactical RPG? What's going on with that thing?
Yeah, it's like a strategy RPG.
How is it so far?
A grid based. I mean, like it's super complex.
And that's what you love, which
Yeah.
makes you a real sicko in my mind.
I really like the complexity to it. A lot of different systems. I have to play more of it before I can really like
Bang the gavel?
bang the gavel and sort of render a verdict.
Right.
That does make sense.
But other than that, I mean, like, what sort of holds me back from totally loving it, and like a lot of strategy RPGs are like this for me, is like, I feel like a lot of just those grid-based things is just the same thing in a slightly different shell over and over again. You know, it's the sort of like, all right, you're gonna move here and hit attack, and you want to get these people close together because that makes you attack better. And this is one of the reasons why I really liked Valkyria Chronicles back in the day. Is that it's still a strategy RPG, but it changes up the formula enough. It sort of like undoes the standard like rock, paper, scissors formation that, things go with all the time. And
There's no grid. It's just like, how far can you move before this bar depletes?
yeah, there's no, and it's a different view. I mean, you're sort of down in third person when you're on the battlefield, which gives you a sense of presence that I don't think you have when it's just sort of like, rotate the grid, around 4 directions.
Did you play Codename Steam?
No.
Any interest in that? I mean, that's a similar vein. It seems like if you like Valkyria that much, you should check it
Still
out.
grid though. I think that one does have squares.
Does it? I don't think so. I think
be
it's
wrong with that.
distance. I think it's distance and it's like
I
a
think
meter.
it's distance too. And
Yeah.
Okay.
now that they've taken away the enemy movement, like forcing you to watch where the enemies go, maybe I'll go back to it. But
Yeah, I mean, really what it comes down to me is that, I love, back in the day, I love Final Fantasy Tactics, I love Vandal Hearts, and...
Oh, we've never talked about Vandal Hearts.
Oh, I love
Worked
Vandal
with you for
Hearts.
5 years. How has Vandal Hearts never come up?
But-
Real quick, fun fact. Vandal Hearts, the producer of Metal Gear from Metal Gear Solid 3 on, Ken, he was the cutscene designer for Vandal Hearts.
Oh,
Deep
all right.
cut.
Very nice.
All right, go on.
Anyway, the point being is that, I felt like these games that I was playing back in, the PS1 era, the games that the strategy RPGs, on grids that I'm playing today, are very, very, very similar to those old games.
not
And
a
I
lot of
kind
evolution.
Yeah, so that's the way I feel about Disgaea. Is in some ways it's sort of like, slipping on a familiar old pair of shoes that hey, I know that it all fits. I know how this works. And on the other hand, it's kind of like there's still
It's like slipping on an old banana peel.
Hey,
Okay.
And these also
real cute
before we
though,
move
right?
on to another game, like these rumors about a potential Valkyria Chronicles 4, by the way, are super exciting. I don't think I realized how excited I am until we started talking.
I feel like there's like 30 of them on Japanese PSP or something.
there's
Like,
two PSP ones. Valkyria Chronicles 2 did make it over here. 3 did not.
Right. And-
Okay.
But there is there's no indication now that we are getting Valkyria Chronicles 3 here, because that was a PSP game in Japan. But there is like a fan translation patch out there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the Japanese PSP and the game, you can at least play it.
piece of cake. There's also a remake, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm having trouble sorting
There's
out
a
like how
piece-
much of this is.
There's a PC version of Valkyria.
No, I know, but I
Chronicles.
thought it was the similar thing to like Gravity Rush or something, where they announced like, the rumors were, hey, there could be new Valkyria Chronicles, also a remake of the first one or something.
I think that's where it's at right now. I don't know
Okay.
if there's been any official announcement for North America. Maybe I don't know how it all goes, but it's like I know in Japan at least they're getting that they're getting a new Valkyria Chronicles that I think is more. If the thing I was reading is right, it's more of an RPG than a strategy RPG.
I mean, as long as that strategy stuff's in
But-
it.
Yeah.
I'm more interested now.
But then, and then I think Japan's also getting. I don't know where the rumor is on like the PS4 version of the original Valkyria Chronicles.
Yeah.
But that's on. I do own it on Steam, and it's great.
Yeah.
so it holds up pretty well. So if you want to check it out, go for the Steam version.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So my challenge game, I have two really weird ones where we all felt in the office that like we need to go back and look at Evolve again. We were all super hot on it before it came out, and then it came out, and everyone's like, it's good if you get into it, but it's just really tough to line up 5 players to play, and then it just quickly died off.
It was one of those things with like demos, you know what I mean? Where you
Yes.
play for a very short amount of time, you don't get a really good sense of how much is going to be there, and you're playing generally with people that there's people in a room, and it's always exciting, and it just turned out that maybe there wasn't that much more to it.
Evolve got our like game of E3 or like like game of show the year before it came out too. I mean, like everyone in the office seemed pretty high on it, and then seemed like a Titanfall situation where it was like it came out and burned pretty hot for a week or two, and then it was like
It's just
shrug.
beyond that, because I mean, it goes back to the LAN party thing. Like, if you get everybody in the same room, like it is a fun game. It's not that the game changed after it came out. Like that core gameplay could be just as fun, but just lining up 5 people to play Evolve is impossible. It was hard when it came out, and now it's just, the ultimate pushing a rock up a hill situation.
Because there's also the opportunity cost of like, okay, 5 people getting together to play a game. Are you going to play Evolve? You're going to play Destiny? Or like there are lots of other multiplayer games that you could go. So it's like, what is it about Evolve that is going to draw you and your friends to that versus other
right.
stuff,
But then
too?
the interesting question for like our top 50 is like, well, it's a good game when you have those 5 people. Is it our fault for not arranging that, or is it the game's fault for having such a complicated setup and needing, best case scenario, getting those 5 people together? It's a weird middle ground. So basically, Reeves is playing that and dealing with it.
You know what? At first, it felt like Bungie was going down a weird road with like just like 3-person like teams and stuff like that. But like really, 3 people is a pretty good sweet spot if you just need to like on the fly get a hold of like 3 people, and then once you have 3 people, like it's easier to just kind of keep the conversation going more and it just keeps it fresh,
Right.
And I don't know, maybe 5 is just a weird number. I don't know. It's there's a lot of factors.
Which is weird because there's been interviews with him talking about, I think it was on our site, you asked him about Left 4 Dead, like why only have 4? Why not have more than 4?
Sure.
And they were like, oh, that's just the sweet spot number. Like once you add in more, then the conversation gets broken. And
Well, in their
difficult,
mind, it also holds true then, because it's like you get the 4 people together, and then whoever's the monster, who gives a crap? Like you're going
Yeah.
up against them anyway. But the fun is like being the monster and ideally being right next to your friends and then laughing in their face as you're breathing fire at them. Like that's the way you play Evolve, not like, some idiot in Nebraska's being annoyed by me right now. Like it doesn't mean anything.
Nebraskans.
Don't get me started. But then the other weird game that was on my radar here is Matt Burt's.
He's a weird.
That's
game.
not a
That's
game.
a person.
That's a man.
I've been playing him for the entire week. What do you playing
Is
him
he just
like
like
a fiddle?
Is he like power armor from? He just like.
Okay. Anyway,
But it's a game that is realistically going to make our top 50, but it's just a matter of outside of that where it's going to fit in the category, which is NBA 2K16. Like he gave it a 9. He loved the game. He said it's the best sports game of the generation so far. But the interesting debate that's going to be coming up is best sports game of the year. Rocket League came out this year.
Right.
And Rocket League is very near to my
And
heart.
it was free on PlayStation Plus.
Everybody played it. Everybody got super into it. It is so good. And so he's like, I want some more support for NBA 2K16. And so
As a candidate, like I
Right.
mean, I think Bert's likes Rocket League.
He
but
does. He does
You
like
need,
it
you
too.
need
Yeah.
you want to get as close to equal voices as you can.
But it's tough when he knows
Ideally.
sports games so well and he can see exactly what NBA 2K16 is improving upon.
Yeah.
And then like gimmicky car soccer comes out of left field. It's like, oh no, gimmicky car soccer. You're not taking the reins this time. But it might. So I wanted to jump on that grenade. And also, if you remember on this podcast when Kim was on, that game sounded fascinating for the story mode starring
was it?
Okay.
frequency vibrations.
Freak.
They call him Freak. And you're a friend of Freak, FOF. You wear the hat when you're in the cool guy group.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. Well, Vic, the main character, well, I mean, kind of the secondary character, almost the antagonist in the storyline, he wears a big FOF hat,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
super cool.
What's next? What's next on the list?
Oh, no, we're going to talk about NBA 2K16 for a long time because I've been playing a lot of it.
How could
Clear
you
your
not want to learn
calendars.
more about frequency vibrations? I don't understand why you don't hear that person exists and want to meet them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, where's your freak vib rhythm?
Hey, let's talk about amplitude instead, or frequency.
I'm listening.
They have freaks in them, FREQ, right?
That is true. That's what they call it, little characters there. Trust me, I thought about that a lot when playing NBA 2K16. But I played
Humming super sprode to yourself.
that is what you are. But I put like 10 hours into NBA 2K16. And that Spike Lee story mode is a fascinating, bizarre thing, which is my favorite thing in the industry. When
Is it
something
like a
weird
Beyond
comes
Two
out.
Souls type situation?
Damn close.
Okay, great.
Damn close.
Okay.
Like outside of that, there's just a boatload of modes in here. Like, and for somebody coming in fresh, I enjoyed basketball games in my day. NBA Streets, like literally one of my favorite games of all time. I
Very
absolutely love
measured
NBA Streets.
enthusiasm.
But I'm not like the last time I watched a full basketball game years and years and years ago. Like I'm not a big basketball guy, but just there's a boatload of
They
modes
played on dirt
in this.
then, in the rain.
We called it Mumbledy Peg.
There's so many modes. You can literally design a custom shoe in the menus, but there's not a great tutorial. There's like little 90-second videos that are voiced by some bored NBA player, but it's like, give me an interactive tutorial. It's either watching those dumb videos and not learning much of anything because I want to practice it, or then going to like just, hey, here's a blank court. You can run around and practice it on your own. But like I want like prompts like, hey, do this 10 times, get used to this pattern. Or even like when I'm playing, I have no idea what to do. Like I don't know what I should be doing. There's situations where like the guy is sitting there on my team, not shooting, just standing there. And I'm like, do you want me to be moving somewhere? And then you go pass the ball to me. Like, how should I be triggering this?
That's really interesting because, like, I wonder to what degree they just assume a vocabulary with these games. You
I
know,
think
like,
they very strongly
like,
do.
They've just got to assume that like our player, our audience who's playing this game has been playing these games in the past, or has someone to teach them how to do it, like as they're playing.
You know, I think I did hear about, similar to like something like Elite Dangerous, which kind of relied on fan communities for tutorials and stuff. I think that they do have an online tutorial for basketball, and it's wikipedia.com.
I sincerely was going to Google because it's like, I don't know what this foul is. Also, I constantly get foul for traveling. It's like, it's a game. I'm not like hitting the dribble button. I don't know what I'm doing wrong to make this crap foul out. It's like it's such a weird divide for me for like this game where I feel like so much is out of my control. And to be fair, a lot of it's because I don't know basketball very well. But even when you do, it's still just a certain amount of like, where's the AI moving versus Rocket League where the thrill is like direct control. Everything you do has direct consequences. It all makes sense.
That's interesting to me because, some of the times I've had with playing sports games that are a little out of my comfort zone, like FIFA or something, I had someone explaining the controls and some stuff to me alongside me. And that's good to know because I'm curious about the career mode, but or the story mode, but if like they're not going to hold my hand through this, I don't know basketball. I probably know it as well as you do.
Right. But there is fun like playing local multiplayer and playing on Steam. But that is like, okay, now it's an even match because I'm up against another idiot. And then the fun really shines through.
There you go.
Or like, it basically have the NBA Street.
Or Jam.
Right. No, it definitely reminds me of that. But they have the street mode within that game. So you can even play and turn the music up. And it kind of feels a little bit like NBA Street, just obviously a little more simmy. But that story mode, man, it's a Spike Lee joint, as they constantly remind you of. And they're also always like throwing in the mocap actors. Like you click on the story mode and then it just shows them like doing mocap sessions, and then Spike Lee comes in and he's like, digitize me, and then like it turns into the video game version of Spike Lee. And also like
So it's like the beginning of Indigo Prophecy then.
it is exactly, yes, very much so.
Back to David Cage.
It's weird.
Yeah. It is a weird thing. And also like it is Kojima-esque where you play a basketball game and then it's no joke. There's a cutscene that's at least 15 minutes of just two characters in a car and the camera just cutting between them talking.
One of their faces is severely burned. The other one just doesn't talk at all.
All
Here,
the
let's listen to
scenes,
this song.
it's like them walking.
I'm no hero.
For the mocap, it's them like walking across a floor.
Did you attach balloons to people on the basketball court? Just get them out of here.
I'm sure it's
man,
buried
your
in one of
defense
those
is
menus.
great. You're coming with me.
I want to bring D-Walker into one of those.
Oh, there's Air Pup or Air Dog or Air Doug. What's his name?
Air Bud.
It's D-Dog, though.
Air Doug.
I liked the path to that joke. That was
working out.
That was a fun trip.
Quiet shoots the basketball, deflates on the court.
So many of these like 10-minute
That's
cutscenes
the deflation sound.
are just them like sitting around a couch or standing in an open room
Playing
or sitting in
NBA
a
2K16 on the
They
couch.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
They
of
literally
course,
do play
of
this
course,
game. It's
yeah.
bizarre, and it's just it goes on forever. And the weird thing to me after finishing it, I don't know if I need to spoil it, but it actually gets like they go for like some real emotional punches with it.
I've heard some of this stuff.
Don't
It's-
spoil it.
It's been unpacked and it sounds bizarre.
It is bizarre, but the twist that I didn't expect is like the performances are really good.
Huh.
I was like the faces look bad. It's basically create a character in NBA 2K16, a game which I think looks good on the basketball court, but them trying to like animate for a
You
story
zoom
mode.
in there.
The eyeballs, like it looks like their eyelids are like turning inside out. It looks effed
that's pretty
up.
cool.
But the performances, and I think actually parts of the script really worked for me. Like I was surprisingly into the story mode as it went on, except it became funny because obviously the tension in the story is your character is rising through the ranks, starting out in high school, then going to the NBA, and it's a matter of his girlfriend and his sister and his best friend Vic, and to a lesser extent his parents, a manager and stuff like that, his agent. But it's all them kind of like vying with his power and like mooching off him and what does he feel comfortable with, yada, yada, yada. But it's funny because every time I played a game, I was miserable. I was just the worst player of all time where I'd constantly foul out because hitting the X button just gets you fouled out in this game.
Okay.
I would run around and constantly demand to be passed the ball from my teammates to the point that they would completely ignore me. And so eventually they start to wean out how much you're actually playing because you're just sitting on the bench. And if you're on the bench, you can just skip it. Otherwise, you just look at the game from first-person perspective. So as I was getting worse and worse throughout the career, people were arguing more and more about like, Freak, you're the best. You're the best that's ever been. We need some of that sweet fame. We want it to rub off on us. Give us that sweet cash, Freak. It just like became this weird dichotomy where it's like, I don't think these people have ever watched one of my games because if they had, they would never stop talking about how
It's
terrible
like someone
I
talking
am.
about like Big Boss being like, you show him why you're the best soldier that's ever been. And he's sliding down a hill in an anime cardboard box
Yes.
and knocking people
It
down.
is exactly that. But I mean, even at the end, Spike Lee comes back in and addresses the camera and says, like, "Yeah, it's my first time doing this. I feel like I learned a lot." But they keep banging on the drum that it's a feature film. Everybody calls it that. Like, there's quotes here.
Can we wrap this up? This is super boring.
There's a lot of NBA 2K16.
Oh no, it's gonna go on for another 15 minutes.
Jesus.
But literally, there's characters in this thing where they go, it's true drama and it's a true literal movie. And all the actors like, we're so proud to be in a feature film. Our first feature film was with Spike Lee.
It's not. It's literally not that.
But there's no.
it's a video game.
There's
Yeah.
so little connection between the gameplay and the cutscenes. It's like if they just like cut to some of the people that are in the story mode in the crowd or something. There's room to grow, and I want to see a good story mode in a sports game.
Right.
Is my
Okay,
point.
the end.
The end. NBA 2K16. I'm really glad I played through that story mode because it is a weird thing.
Thanks for telling us about it.
I have more to
length.
say.
Yeah, I know that we cut you short there.
But overall, it's an impressive
Joe, wake
game.
up, wake up.
But Joe, where do you stand on the NBA 2K16 versus Rocket League debate?
I'm glad that we are done talking about it. What's next?
yeah, what's the next one?
God damn it. Well, we could talk about stuff that we've been playing outside of the challenge zone stuff.
One thing that I wanted to talk about,
Yeah.
just in terms of like holiday games of the year stuff, that I think is interesting is you don't see this happen too often when there's a game that has a lot of like pre-launch enthusiasm around it, where it's got a big marketing push, and it comes out and it kind of bombs. And I think we saw that with The Order 1886 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys all play it?
Tim and I played it
I
together.
started
Two nights, right? We got through it in like 2 nights.
Yeah, it was super fun. It's one of those things we're debating about recording.
Well,
and
no,
then-
playing it together was fun.
That's right.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
game itself.
Well, it's just the experience overall. It's all wrapped in my mind.
okay.
But I had a great time playing with you because
Right.
there's a fair amount of mocking going throughout.
Likewise, just don't want people to get the impression that the Ori 1886 is a fun video.
No, but if you want if you like come over to my house and play with Tim and I, you will have fun.
That's correct.
So probably deserves a spot on the top 50.
Because that's what I think is interesting is just like normally when there are games like that come out, like there are, even with divisive games, there are people who are like, I mean, yeah, there are defenders, then there are detractors. And like, I don't know that we have any big defenders of the Order in the office.
I don't think it's
No,
making
I mean,
the
just
cut.
visually is like, it's a tour de force of like amazing like art direction and cinematography and like detail is on point. Maybe one of the best games that's ever, like best looking console games that's been made.
100%.
But going beyond that, it's difficult to find a lot of things to defend.
The design, yeah.
The design of like enemy encounters, just like ducking behind a banister and like shooting people with like, there's like the magnesium rifle thing is like the coolest part about it. You shoot dudes with those flecks of like, combustible metal and then with a flare and like that's it. But beyond that, everything else is just totally stuff you've done before or QTE werewolf fights.
And the bummer to me also is just that like they could not learn any lessons from, it seemed like the entire point of game design last generation, which is people like RPG mechanics, people like feeling progression. And for that game, just to completely throw it out the window, no upgrades whatsoever, and not even like being able to choose what guns you have.
Yeah, you just sort of take what's on the field in front
Right.
of you. And
Yeah, exactly. And every mission, like, oh, you don't have your gun anymore. Here's this new gun. Okay, that's gone now. Here's this.
That said, even if they did have that, there's not enough worthwhile like enemy encounters that I would have been able to like feel like, oh, I can't wait to try that out again.
What was
It
your
might have been 20 minutes. My entire chapter's passed and there's no gameplay.
What's your favorite part of the Order 1886, Tim?
Oh my gosh, I looked at an apple. Man, I don't know. Oh, the stuff on the blimp. The blimp is really cool looking and like.
But I wonder, because you did that for a preview, and I wonder if that just sticks in your mind more because you played it multiple
Hey
times.
man, it could be, but like I just remember thinking that place that was cool. You have to escape the blimp and stuff. I don't know. What about you?
It's a weird case. Oh man, it's probably
Playing with Tim at your house? Was that your favorite?
It's probably like watching that skeleton jiggle. Because if you get close to things, they'll move a little bit, and there's like a skeleton in like a doctor's office or something, and if you just stand close to it, it'll have like this gentle kind of wiggle, and it's
Like
so
that
silly.
Shaq gif of him.
Okay.
wiggling.
It's exactly
Gotcha.
it. Yeah, so 100% everybody recommend checking it out.
Another interesting one like that, and I hope that more people do come back to it, is Dying Light. Like, I don't know why a lot of people didn't talk about Dying Light, but in the conversation where people, like, some people are becoming a little worried about Mirror's Edge too, and like Dying Light it controls so well. Like Dying Light it just feels like, I didn't review it. Brian Shea did. I can't remember what he gave it, but I don't know what I would have given Dying Light, but it controls so well and just delivers that, like, you want to go over there, like you kind of have an idea of the rhythm that you want to take and the route you want to get up there. It feels super good for that. And then the RPG mechanics, everything's just like what Dead Island was sort of promising, just way more polished down. I like the open world. I can't think of things like, the story is not amazing, and there's some jank in there, but Dying Light's a really cool game.
I'm
And
waiting.
I think that's something that we actively try to fight against as a staff when it comes to this time of year is like, turns out the games that came out like back in January, February are just sort of not, at the forefront of our minds anymore.
Right.
So like, I mean, I think it's good that you bring that up and that you're thinking about it, because that is something that we try, like in those discussions, to be like, all right, it's been a long time, but let's think back about Dying Light.
or Monster Hunter 4 or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
That's a long
exactly.
time ago.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to wait for the spin-off Escape from Dying Light and just play that instead.
Okay.
Pretty
Sounds
excited
good.
about
Yeah, Escape from Dead Island was amazing.
But speaking of stuff that seems like it's kind of gotten overshadowed, Rise of the Tomb Raider. I mean, it came out on the big
man.
day.
I was giving a panel. It wasn't a huge panel or anything. It was like a game jam at Gamers Rhapsody this year, and it was a lot of fun. I'd never been part of a game jam before, but I was up there and like had to kill time. Like there's some technical flubs and stuff. I was just like, hey, I know everyone's playing. Like, how many people are playing Fallout 4? And like tons of hands and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'd be playing it right now, if not for this cool thing or whatever. And then I followed up and asked like, well, how about Rise of the Tomb Raider? Anyone check it out? Actual laughter. Actual
For
laughter
this game, they give it
to the
9.5.
idea that, and this is very anecdotal, please, mind you, but like actual laughter, the idea that like, why would we consider another game when Fallout flippin' 4 is out?
It's a great
And-
game, but I feel like it's anchored down both by the release window and also the fact that it's on Xbox One exclusively
That-
right now,
that
where
does-
everyone just like likes to rope in. They're laughing at the Xbox One,
maybe.
which is even insane.
That said, I cannot wait to play that game. Like the buzz in the office, like people playing it and people that have played it online, like there's people that just there's a lot of consensus I hear sometimes, or not consensus, but just talk about like this is a legitimate game of the year contender. And that's exciting because the first one was good. The reboot was a good game.
Kyle, you actually voted for the reboot as your game of the year 2013, right?
Yeah, that was my game of the year in 2013, and I was
Have you played Rise of the Tomb
Yes.
Raider yet?
Yeah, I've started.
Okay.
I have not
Okay.
finished it. Because I think when the last time that you and I were on the podcast together, we talked about the games we were most looking forward to.
Oh,
this
yeah,
year,
yeah,
and
yeah.
mine was Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I did actually end up playing Fallout 4 first, and I think I put about 10 hours in Fallout 4, and I hit this point where like I just put a marker in the middle of nowhere and like walked toward it, and I got there and I was like, what am I doing? Like I don't even know what.
Well,
like,
Kyle, indeed, what are you doing?
yeah, like because the thing was is like I just wanted to explore.
Okay.
The idea, like, because that's the thing about Fallout. Like, you guys are laughing at me, but like, we talked to Reiner, and he said his favorite part of that game was just walking around the wilderness and taking in the sort of everything, and like just coming across like a random house or coming across a random cave, and you go in there and you
Sure.
find this story. So I was like, well, rather than focus on this story that I'm not really interested in, I'm going to go off and just try to explore and just try to at least give myself a point to walk towards, and maybe come across some interesting things, which I did. But the whole point of the story is like once I hit that point, I was like, I don't what am I doing? Like I don't have any direction. I don't really have a focus or a goal. And then like
It's your quest log.
yeah,
Your,
well,
uh,
yeah,
quest
but
log.
to move from that into like Rise of the Tomb Raider was just this huge breath of fresh air. Like to have some
Right.
sort of direction.
you wrote an opinion piece about
Yeah, and like I love. I don't know if it's like I really loved Tomb Raider. I'm really loving Rise of Tomb Raider so far. I don't know if me sort of kind of cooling on Fallout 4 makes me like Rise of Tomb Raider even more. But just like the timing has been perfect for like just having some direction and like having some more reward quickly. Like you get cutscenes, the story is given to you.
The pace, there's
more
pacing.
directly.
Like Fallout 4 is
Yeah.
up to you.
Like when you like in Fallout 4, you level up and you get this kind of incremental increase. And it's not fair to compare Rise of the Tomb Raider to Fallout 4, but it's just like my current experience
Sure.
right now. And like you kind of like throw some points at like your gun will do more damage. Where Fallout 4 is like I did this mission for a guy. I solved a tomb, and then I instantly got the ability to shoot 2 arrows,
I
which
think
is like stuff
you're
like that.
Underselling some of Fallout's more fun perks. I think there's some really good stuff in there.
But you have to build up to those perks, and it's a much slower build.
Yes,
to
you
get
do.
to
It's an
those.
more
Yeah.
traditional RPG.
Also to Kyle's point, like I'm playing, I'm finally like trying to plow through The Witcher 3, and I'm running into that problem with the upgrades in that, which I think is a good example of like, I level up and my experience points just sort of like my skill points just accrue because I'm not super interested in the things that I can spend them in because like the abilities aren't that cool and like it's usually like like very small increases into things that I can already do, and I think that conveying when it comes to like conveying a sense of progression to the player, giving them something different to do so that late game combat or not even late game like combat 10 hours in should feel different than combat 1 hour in.
That's for keeping things fresh. That is a good point. There's 2 things before we refocus on Tomb Raider that I want to bring up, which I'm happy you brought up the upgrade system, Witcher 3, because like the way I look at an upgrade system sometimes, especially considering I looked at like the late upgrades in that game, I'm like, these sound like slam dunk. So like, well, what do I do the most? Let's make that stronger. Oh, light and heavy attacks. So I'm going to put money into that and like health regeneration stuff because I didn't really love the combat in Witcher 3. But on top of that, also in Fallout 4, we could talk about that for a long time, but let's not because we have. Did you get to Diamond City?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I just making sure. And obviously, whenever you're done with a game, like hanging it up and coming back to it at your own time is like always advised.
Fallout's a good one to kind of go back to after a break when you need a break.
I'm personally like really enjoying Fallout 4, but it's and it's not 1-to-1 either because one's an RPG and one's an action game.
Yeah, it's almost not fair to really, like I said, to compare them. But just like going from that to like Rise of Tomb Raider, where I'm just like getting all these rewards and like I don't know, it's exactly what I wanted at the time, and I'm really having a good time.
What do you
One-
think?
just real quick, one sort of thing I just remembered about the whole like release window thing with Fallout 4 and Tomb Raider on the same day. I think it was telling that there were a couple. I'm not sure who it was. It was like Major Nelson or Aaron Greenberg or and like some Microsoft corporate folks on Twitter, like rather than necessarily going on release day, rather than being like, "Hey, go buy Tomb Raider today," they were using the hashtag #BuyBoth.
Please.
It's sort of like acknowledging, like, look, you're gonna buy Fallout. Please buy Tomb Raider also.
Target's
Right.
got buy two get one free this week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which I mean, like, I just think is interesting that like there's sort of an acknowledgement that like, okay, we're out on the same day, but you can get both.
It's such an interesting problem to have for Microsoft. And on the Quantum Break trip, we talked to Sam Lake about just like how they were happy to push Quantum Break back into 2016 because they literally have too many games in the holiday window for 2015. It's not kissing Microsoft's ass, but like really they have been cranking out an amazing first party lineup or even
Well,
like
it's at
with
least
Fallout.
compared to Sony, which really dried up.
I mean, Microsoft's tagline has always been, or has been this year, like, oh, the biggest lineup fall games, and it's totally true. Like, they have 6 amazing like first party games, and the problem of like Rise of the Tomb Raider, like, would it be better if it was pushed back into 2016, given a window with a little bit more room, and just, I mean, the game is polished as hell, but I don't know, just hold on to it and get it out of this juggernaut release window of the holidays of 2015.
I almost wonder if it had been displaced by a week, if that would have helped it kind of.
Yeah,
get
like
little
a week
more-
sooner.
Or no, even a week later. Maybe.
Battlefront
Either
week?
way.
Either way would have helped it, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But just to follow up on an old conversation on this podcast, I bought that game on 360,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
which is amazing.
So you guys laugh at me for exploring Fallout 4's wilderness, but you don't laugh at him for buying Tomb Raider on 360. Thank
Well,
you.
I mean,
what are you doing?
Like that's just so apparently stupid.
Yeah.
I disagree.
It's like we feel bad for him at this point.
You have
so
pretty good reason.
$50, right? It's $10
it's
cheaper.
it's $10 cheaper, and like I feel like the port teams, this is like Nixis is their name, but the teams that have to port these next gen games onto last gen maybe don't get enough credit. Like if we think back on like the best looking games of last gen, like the best looking 360 games, I'm sure everybody would be like, oh, I don't know,
GTA
Gears of
is up
War,
there.
yeah, stuff
Last
like
of
that.
Us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But stuff like the ability to port these games onto that old systems, like they are up there for the best looking games of last gen. They do an amazing job. It has not stood out to me outside of like explosion effects and like trudging through the snow kind of like pops a little bit. Outside of that, if this game just came out and I didn't know there's a next gen version, I would
Well,
never notice it. It's
I mean,
incredibly
To
impressive.
close the loop on that, like how much have you played / seen of the Xbox One version?
Yeah, maybe putting them side by side.
Yeah, I'm sure if you see them side by side,
Without a
but-
comparison, it's tough to like. If it's a fun game in its own right on 360, that's awesome. And,
It is.
and kudos to them. But you know, if someone's sitting there and like their Xbox One's being repaired or they're waiting, like they don't know whether they should play it on 360 or wait for the Xbox One version, like we can't definitively make those comparisons yet. But
No. But I think Hansen's the point Hansen's making that I think is a good one is that like the idea that this is a decent looking game, like regardless of the new gen version of it.
Right.
This is a decent looking game.
It's a
that-
great-
that-
it's a
that
great
is
looking
fun.
game.
and it's
Yeah.
the system that you played the reboot on, you know, or the generation anyway.
I'm saying
so.
you guys all laughing for that concept. I think we're being naive. I think that everybody should go back if they own 360, don't own an Xbox One. Like, don't not play Rise of the Tomb Raiders because you don't own an Xbox One.
It's not laughing because that game's going to suck. It's laughing because like a better version of it is available.
And also,
Right.
like, if you wanted to, like, there are Xbox Ones at the office and stuff. Like, you could make
you
that
have
happen.
access to that
Yeah.
system.
Right, but it's the curiosity, and in the end, I'm super, super impressed by what they're able to squeeze onto 10-year-old hardware at this point.
That's
Like,
cool.
It's insane.
I think it's cool that you did that experiment.
Thanks,
I would really like to see you play some of the Xbox One version and just really see if, like, oh, suddenly the frame rate and, like, it controls, but, like, I would love to see you close the loop on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of videos and stuff like that. I haven't played the Xbox One version, but playing 360 in a vacuum, it's completely great.
For those who don't have an Xbox One yet,
Absolutely.
perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, and
way
also
to play
like
the game.
they bake all the cutscenes with the Xbox One version.
Sure, it's a movie, right?
Yeah, and so it doesn't like it's not like the cutscenes you're watching are hideous. Like it looks great, and then it cuts to the back of Laura's head for gameplay, which also looks great. Ponytail bounces just the way you want it to. It's all perfect.
All right.
Anything else you guys want to touch on in this segment?
I like Destiny and did the raid.
good.
Fought orcs
Congratulations.
with Miller and some folks there, and that's really cool. My goal was to get my light level up to the point where I could raid. Right now I'm at like 297 or something like that, and it's a really, really fun game. But after having done the raid, the hook is now just the loot, and I'm wondering. I've already started to cool on it, but when friends want to play it, it's such a fun game to be like, oh, I don't have a reason why I wouldn't want. I like this person, I like this game, like let's make this happen. But my personal drive is drying up a little bit. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of co-op in the raid, I want to touch also briefly on StarCraft 2. Still been playing a lot of that. I beat the epilogue. Dantak is overstating how bad that story is. It's totally fine. StarCraft 2, fine. But the interesting thing with StarCraft 2 now is I've started getting into the co-op missions, which I think are super, super fun. And the crazy thing is that if you don't own StarCraft 2, they still have the free, what they call Starter Edition, that you can download. And with that completely free thing that you download from Battle.net, you can play Legacy of the Void's complete multiplayer. Also, you can play co-op missions with like 3 out of the 6 heroes.
So get a Battle.net account and you can play unabridged StarCraft 2 trilogy multiplayer. Like, so you can play stuff from like Heart of the Swarm. And
Well, you wouldn't want to. You just want the latest.
It's just the latest.
one.
It's just that one.
And it is that one.
But it wraps in stuff from those like modes and stuff that started. Like, it's everything.
I mean, it's just every expansion has been adding more units, and it has the most up-to-date version of multiplayer. And it's a crazy thing that I don't think Blizzard talks about enough. I was confused about that. I assumed it was still Wings of Liberty for like the trial version, but like,
You don't want to advertise that? I don't know.
it's confusing. Yeah, but it's like, it is literally the best parts of StarCraft 2 are completely free. And if you already have like Heart of the Swarm or Wings of Liberty, I don't know if you can still try it for free, but then just make a new Battle.net account and then you can get it for free. It's the greatest loophole ever. Everybody go out and enjoy StarCraft 2's best parts.
Nice little PSA.
All right, and that is Cheapskate Hansen, StarCraft 2 Corner.
I call him.
an Xbox One.
Was that Tim?
No, yeah. Should we go on to emails?
Please do.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We have some emails. If you want to send us an email, a question, a hypothetical, would you rather type situation, you could do. You can send that over to podcast@gameinformer.com. Every week we choose one for email of the week. We'll send you a little thank you in the mail.
It's a shattered pot this week.
That's right. We've been getting some good. Yeah, it's a fragrance of a shattered pot. So I hope you're interested in that. We can sign it or something. But there's some good questions this week.
seem
Keep them
surprised.
coming. No, like the quality. There's some real thinkers in here, and we're going to start off with one from Will from Palo Alto, California.
What is your favorite fart?
Will asks, a ranking from completely rancid to flowers, using your nose, your
I like the ones
olfactory
that sound like a
senses.
question.
That's right. My
Okay, for
like
real.
the trombones, like the.
Fun fact, Kyle hates fart jokes.
But every time you show them to me, I laugh at them.
Do you really hate fart jokes?
I don't. I don't. I'm not big on fart jokes.
His entire family is anti-fart.
Yeah,
I
we've
hate that.
taken a
Did
stance.
Claire just like go pew to your fart jokes?
She still thinks they're hilarious.
That is a weird political allegiance right there.
well, you
It
know
is
what?
weird. It's some of
I
the
believe what I believe, Joe.
Height of
You
humor,
can't
man.
question me about that.
don't
Okay.
talk to friends and family about religion, politics, and fart jokes.
Kyle's family is a single issue voter. It's all stance on farts.
You. Hey guys, first of all, I just want to say, this is Will. I just want to say that you guys are my go-to for game reviews, opinions, all that. Thank you, or good luck with great job with the extra live stream. Thank you, Will. To my question, in this day and age, beautiful 3D graphics and games such as those found in Batman Arkham Knight and huge expansive worlds such as The Witcher 3, do small and humble 2D games stand a chance for getting Game of the Year? For example, if a game like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger were released today and it told a beautiful story and it had new innovative features, would it be worthy of being called Game of the Year? I mean, that's a tough comparison. I ask because Game of the Year talks will start happening soon, and also because of how popular Undertale seems to be with everyone who plays it. Keep up the amazing work, Will.
I'm glad he set that up because there's one clear example of this.
Yeah.
For this year, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
And
you know,
Ori.
on the Undertale front, something that I think I pointed this out on Twitter the other day too, but like I think it's really interesting that in our last issue, Undertale got Game of the Month.
Yeah.
And also in that issue was the new Assassin's Creed game, the new Call of Duty game, and there was one more.
Halo.
Or was
Halo's also in there.
Halo, yeah, not Tomb Raider.
Juggernauts.
So yeah, like these 3 gaming industry juggernauts came out, and yet like Undertale is the one that sort of beat them out.
And-
so
It's interesting. Like those ones are all quality games. At their core, they're inherently iterative. Like they're sequels building on an established core. And Undertale, like it just goes to show how far fresh can like bring you sometimes.
Yeah. As far as a winning game of the year, I think momentum would be pushing away from those, but it absolutely is a contender for having those types of games win game of the year. So you'd have to put up a fight, but it could be done.
Yeah, and I think we can broaden it out to like not just our game of the year or anything. Like talking about like game of the year contenders in general. I bet that Undertale will make some games of the year.
Well, think of like
that.
2012, even like Walking Dead winning Game of the Year from Jeff Keighley's Magical
Adventure
Awards.
game, yeah. But I wanted to bring up, just like things that I think were in the running in past years. Like, I mean, Ori from this year, I think that's like a high ranking game. It's not.
Axiom Verge.
Axiom Verge is up there. Braid, I think, probably walked away with some games of the year.
I'm sure.
And Limbo was a huge one. I mean, like, I just want. It's like Meat Boy. I bring those up just that like they've been contenders, even if they didn't walk away with it every year. Like,
I fought for Fez pretty hard in 2012.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Well, even think of like last year, like Hearthstone was on the short list, and looking back on it, like I would have liked Hearthstone to win. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a 2D game as much, but it's
I think
Well, it is.
that's a weird. Cards are 2D in person. Like that's
They're
not.
3D animated cards. All right, similar idea.
It's a card
Yeah.
game. It's a
Don't
card
wince
battle
at
game.
it.
It's kind of wince-worthy. It's not in the same. We have a very clear structure of what we're talking about, and card games are not.
I think it totally fits.
You
in
don't
that
say,
game.
"Oh, I love those 2D card games." Like
But we're
that's-
talking about simplistic graphics
We're
games.
talking about 2D games.
Hey, Tim. Go on, Joe.
Don't blame Tim because you didn't listen to the question. Hanson.
Yeah.
I heard the question. I
Okay.
stand by it.
It's games like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Undertale, Hearthstone.
I think it's talking about larger oddballs for Game of the Year choices.
So I think really, I think what it boils down to is that like there's no formula for Game of the Year, obviously, but I think when you look at like any game can do something innovative, so it's not necessarily like I don't know that you even need to draw a distinction between like, oh, this game has old school graphics and this one has new 3D graphics, so the preference goes to this one. Like
Right. Yeah, that would be
I
silly.
think. Well, no. I mean, I think it all just boils down to like visual style aside, like how engrossing is this game? What does it contribute? How does it surprise us? And sometimes like the visuals factor into that, but I don't know that. Like, I think it's weird to me to draw a line to be like, well, a 2D graphic game can't win or should win or can't. Like
Yeah.
It's about art direction, not like technical proficiency.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is no line there. Yeah. Just to like clarify, like, yes, absolutely, a game with like old school graphics or 2D graphics or whatever could win Game of the Year.
Like Hearthstone.
But
Yeah.
just to clear this up, Joe, I want a verdict right now. Witcher 3 or Undertale, better game.
Yeah, I can't. I
Oh, that's fun.
I haven't finished. Well, no, seriously, I haven't finished Witcher 3. It's hard to say because like there are elements. There are very similar elements in terms of like the way choice works and the way choice plays out and like the payoff of those choices. I think is something that is important in both of those games. But I'm not far enough. I don't even know if I'm halfway through The Witcher to really say how that pays off on that front.
Right.
Gotcha.
A good question, though, Will. Jake from Maine. Hi, Tim, Ben, and GI crew. Love the show. Insert compliments as you see fit. You're all very handsome, says Jake. I see that.
All right.
My question for you is this. What are some of your favorite moments in games that aren't known for being good? For example, and spoilers ahead, this is Assassin's Creed 3 spoiler. He liked something in Assassin's Creed 3 and in Assassin's Creed Rogue, which had to do with just moments that stood out from games that he felt like were otherwise maybe not totally amazing. So I'll skip those spoilers. Are there any moments from games that stood out despite being in a lackluster title or poorly playing game, Jake?
And this is more than just like identifying a cult hit like Deadly Premonition or something. This is like
Right. I think it's just like,
Yeah.
this game wasn't great, but like, wow, this was a gem in there.
The beginning, I think it's 2006, Alone in the Dark remake.
Oh, okay.
Really
What's
cool.
cool about the beginning?
You kind of wake up with, it's a little cliche, but you wake up with like amnesia and you don't really see yourself. And you kind of, like the first time you see yourself is you're looking in a mirror. And then you kind of make your way out of, I'm trying to remember correctly, out of a building and like the city's like kind of like blowing up around you as you're like driving through the streets. And then the game just nosedives from that point on. Like it gets really bad.
That reminds me of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which
Yeah.
is like not an amazing game, but like the narrative framing of like this therapist's room in first person and the way they wrap that in with like the conclusion of the game was really cool. Like to the point where it's like at least watch on YouTube or something to see the payoff of that or play it. But yeah.
Watch on YouTube worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Considering it's not that, but it is interactive because you do these tests. Anyway, think of Until Dawn, kind of.
Right. The first one that jumped out to mind, it's not a bad game, but Lego City Undercover, I remember I love the ending. There's a moment where you're free falling back to Earth, and the soundtrack is awesome and like epic, and it's like a chorus of people chanting like Lego, Lego, like it's Italian or like Latin. It is so awesome. And then like the rest of the game, it's freaking Lego games.
Fine.
Yeah.
Really? Because you were talking Lego City Undercover up and down.
No,
Is it 'cause
but I
the
love the humor, and
Okay,
I love the writing in that game so much. But I think the minute-to-minute gameplay is still
Okay.
open world Lego game.
Other one I think is worth mentioning here is Shadows of the Empire and the Snowspeeder Hoth stuff, which
Sure,
is just
yeah.
such a standout, and basically like set the blueprint for the Rogue Squadron games and stuff. Like I played that Hoth mission like over and over again. The rest of that game is clunky garbage.
Imagine
but-
if the Hoth mission was like halfway through that game. Would there be an?
right, it's the second mission, isn't it? Or
I think it's the
That's
first.
mission,
Yeah.
You start out on that.
That's so
the
connected to
mission,
nostalgia.
but it concludes with the stuff in the Snowspeeder.
No.
No,
You
it starts that
You
way.
hit start, you are in the snowspeeder.
100%.
Then the second level, you're escaping the base, and you see
They
the
really
Millennium
put that
Falcon.
good stuff right up
You
front
open the
there.
jails with the wampas in them and stuff.
Yeah, it does have the speeder bikes, which I think that probably has aged like one probably the worst aging parts of that game. But I remember thinking the speeder bike's really cool. to the
Junk
city.
train.
Junk Train. That's what your
I
nickname in
genuinely
high
love
school,
that
wasn't it, Ben?
People all over the world.
Junk Train. All right, next one. Thank you, Jake. Next one is from Ryan. IGI crew. First, congrats on a super successful extra live stream. Thank you. Still getting a lot of congrats on that. Thanks. Archive is up on Twitch and YouTube. YouTube.
Just watch YouTube.
I'd like to hear how you guys and possibly Gal, Kim's out, would rank the top 5 most important video game characters, past and present, based on recognizability and the effect they had on the growth of the gaming industry. Ryan wants us to read his list after we discuss, but I honestly think it's really a good list and a good building point from conversation
it.
rather than us just kind of mumbling around it.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's use that as a jumping off point and then focus and refine as we see fit.
Can I just get a rule set before we hear this list?
Yes, Ben Hansen, please.
Bling. Is this like if it's a really important game in the history of video games, but like the character is nothing?
The character. It's the character.
It's about the
Specifically
character, not the
personality.
game.
Okay.
It says top 5 most important video game characters.
Right. Okay. So would that card count from Hearthstone?
Which card? There's a lot.
The Gollum guy?
Just any card.
Gollum got a card.
Pick a card, any card. I don't care.
Can all cards, because they're cards, be counted as a
right.
single character?
I like it. You're a card.
Anyway.
Tim, yeah, okay. My ranking would be, Ryan says, number 5, Pikachu.
Okay.
Number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog. Number 3,
Furry, huh?
Master Chief.
Oh, okay.
Number 2, Pac-Man. Number 1, Mario. I don't know if you can argue against Mario.
Yeah.
No.
He seems like pretty solid.
And Pac-Man is like, I feel like in the top 3, Pac-Man's up there.
As a character, though.
See, so
That's tricky.
I think there's something. Well, okay. I guess you guys can interpret this however you want. I think of it in terms of there being a difference between like iconic characters and important characters. And like when I think of important characters, I think of things that are important to like characterization and how that's like evolved in gaming.
And barking up that tree more than just this, which is I think like Master Chief is like important, but total cardboard to me.
Yeah.
I have here this is the official name is the 30 Characters Who Defined a Decade issue of Game Informer, which came out several years back, and I wanted to just really quickly prattle off these. Just so that we have an idea of what we're working with here. Actually, you know what?
Is that numbered? Or is that like
it is.
just-
They're ranked.
They're ranked?
Or
Okay.
I don't know if it is an actual ranking, but
You're gonna go through all 30 of them?
number
Seems ranked
30,
backwards.
King of all Cosmos.
Hey, can we? So you say it, and we'll go agreed or disagreed quickly.
What? No.
No, this is
whatever
we
you
all
want.
agree on this. This is
You
the
can
issue.
make a noise if you want to.
For YouTube viewers, my thumb will be in the air.
Make a noise of like yay or nay. I don't care. Okay, 30 King of all Cosmos, 29 Bonnie McFarlane from Red Dead Redemption, 28 Wander from Shadow of the Colossus, 27 Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney series, 26 Professor Layton series, 25 Cosmos from Xenosaga series,
Cosmos.
24 thank you Jade from Beyond Good and Evil, 23 Kaim Argonar from Lost Odyssey. What? 22 Raz from Psychonauts. 21 Auron from Final Fantasy X. 10. I'm doing this very fast, okay? Tim Tim from Braid, 20. 19, The Boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. We got Tommy Vercetti from 18, Grand Theft Auto Vice City. 17, The Elusive Man, Mass Effect 2. 16, Elena Fisher, Uncharted. We have HK 4715, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And then we have over here is Captain John Price with number 14,
number 14.
there.
Yeah.
Readability
Call
is
of
number
Duty.
one issue for Game of
That
Thrones.
was an issue with this
He's
issue.
reading it backwards. It's
13, Jimmy Hopkins from Bully. 12, Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. 11, Ethan Mars from Heavy Rain. 10, Ezio from Assassin's Creed. 9, Logain Mactur from Dragon Age. And Andrew Ryan is number 8 from Bioshock. Getting there, guys. 7, Kratos God of War. 6, Alex Vance from Half-Life 2. Nico Bellic is number 5 from Grand Theft Auto 4. Number 4 is Master Chief, Halo series. 3, Nathan Drake from Uncharted. And then number 2, John Marston, Red Dead. And number 1 is GLaDOS from Portal.
GLaDOS, really?
And it is
And
in the
these
past
are-
decade, right?
Well,
It was
yeah, it was
At
like
the time
it was
they
that-
published,
yeah.
right? Okay.
yeah, it was
Exactly.
like 2000 to 2010 or something like that.
Right.
I mean, it's a little dated in that front. And again, that doesn't really make a distinction between like iconic and
Yeah.
interesting, and it's sort of a mixture. It's sort of a mixture of all those things.
If we had to choose one from Metal Gear, assuming that the characterization in those games,
The boss.
is it now the boss? Like
Ocelot?
from 3 on. Like I mean, I guess he's he's way more
Well, he's more
interesting than Solid
Ocelot's
Snake.
more important to the sort of story, but it's like a standout character.
The boss is still like the strongest, just like singular
The boss,
vision for a character.
not Big Boss.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the boss. The boss, I think, is the most is the most nuanced character in that series. I think.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I'm sure if she was in every game, she would also have an opportunity to be just scattered to the wind as far as
Yeah.
personality wise,
Well, and
which
that's-
is nice.
But
It's
yeah,
consistent.
that's one of the things that's interesting. And the other thing that I like about her is that like she's sort of retroactively a presence in every game, even if she's not in every game. You know,
Right.
like you find out that her as a character is just sort of like the genesis for that whole series. And
You mean because the AI cylinder just walks around on all four legs?
yeah, exactly.
I would argue that Joel from The Last of Us would probably belong on this list at this point, and I think that Ellie's an amazing character too. But the reason I think that Joel would make it is because like he's so deeply flawed in some ways that I think it makes him a more interesting and not like the anti-hero, like the classic anti-hero for video games, but like more he is flawed in a way that doesn't necessarily pertain directly to gameplay, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, Ellie's great, but she's pretty straightforward.
you know, I don't know if I'd agree with that, but
Well,
it's just
yeah,
I just
it's simplifying.
I think if you want to go with like girl in the apocalypse, you'd go with Clementine over Ellie.
Clem's really good too. Honestly, I would like Clem and Lee are both really good characters.
It's interesting to note, like, so our Game of the Year issue and list, we also do top 10 characters of the year, and it was actually Last of Us was kind of the catalyst for changing it from top 10 heroes and top 10 villains, which is the format we used to have. You know, where it's like, oh, hey, here's Joker and Batman on this list every goddamn year, and then it was like Last of Us, where it's like, where does Joel fit? How does this work? It's like, all right, let's just nuke it. And I love this format so much more, which is top 10 most interesting characters.
Yeah,
and top 10 dorks still.
yeah, we
The
still
best,
do
clearly the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
You know, there's one Hollywood, which is a weird thing to say, but they seem to think Hubert is really important because he was a really important.
Maybe he's the most recognizable and the cheapest.
Yeah, he was really
like,
important in
for the
Wreck-It
money.
Ralph, and he was also a huge part of Pixels.
It's
weirdly,
bizarre.
Yeah.
So number 1 is Mario still. Let's make
Yeah.
that the case still. Number 2,
But like, well, okay.
Luigi.
I was gonna say honestly, I think like Sonic could be up there because it was the first time that like I think there was
more though.
No,
He's
Sonic
done.
Sonic torpedoed. And if we were making this list in 1997,
Yeah.
maybe he'd still be on there.
Crash might
I
be-
think
Crash
just as far as
Bandicoot
like
might be on there
it's
too.
past present list. You know what I
If
mean?
Big boy Tim Turry was making this, I think maybe.
I think
But
I mean
outside of that.
I don't know, past and present. Are we gonna make a top 5?
No.
All right.
No.
Well,
It's
I'm
tough.
sorry, Ryan, but you had a good top 5. I don't think Master Chief belongs on there, but but he belongs on there in that like now there's a million armor types that look like him. Like he set off the sort of Space Marine thing. I feel like
I can't get the image out of my mind since you said it of Master Chief finally taking off his helmet and it's just a box of cardboard.
I do like.
Shakes it out.
I do agree with our like characters that defined a decade of like putting GLaDOS on there really high.
Yeah.
I think because like more than I think that demonstrates like a character's ability to like really
be the entire experience.
yeah, well and to go on something that's not quite as like impactful or like not necessarily as serious, to show that like hey, you can be sort of like funny and irreverent and still like I mean all of those cake jokes and stuff that came out immediately after, you know, like I think it's what makes Gladys important is just like the way that character helped that game just resonate with so many players too.
She wrapped that all together in a way that, like, if Portal had released, it would have been like a really amazing concept, and I think it'd still be revered, but not nearly to the level it is now.
And that list was made before Portal 2, so it's nice to see that it still stands up.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
So, should we move on to, let's see, we have one that pertains to this, but this is a good follow-up here. And I'm sorry, I'll have to look up the name to this one afterwards.
Oh, Edgar's?
Is it Edgar?
I don't know. Just throw a name out there.
Oh, no. For some reason, I didn't survive the copy paste job I did in a rush. Hey, Jai Crew, great podcast, by the way. Did you know Peepo is in the Urban Dictionary? Anyway, my question is,
With a sick definition.
what
It's
video?
disgusting.
Let's look. We can look at it. Peepo, noun, a very helpful robot, appears in the 1997 survival horror classic Overblood, made popular by Game Informer Online.
Yeah, all right.
Rest in peace. Adjective:
We
naturally
made it
or
to Urban
instinctively
Dictionary.
helpful. Used in a sentence. These look like Peepo. No, it's a different type. These are just helpful as Peepo. The question here is, and I'll
Disgusting.
get is, what video game character have you gotten most attached to? Like, I mean, I feel like this could be like a really personal one. There's no, you don't have to make any like sweeping statements about their importance or anything, you know.
For me, like hands down, I think it's Commander Shepard.
Oh yeah.
Because like in addition to you getting to like choose what that character looks like, it hits that sweet spot of like you get all the customization options, so you have that sort of like level of connection to it, but there's also enough of the character defined by the arc of the story that it doesn't feel like the Elder Scrolls problem of like you're just some cipher out in the middle, you know, like you're a nobody. So it's like it's an actual character that you still feel a lot of ownership over because like you customize and you make all the choices. Plus, I think you know that story is just. I really like the arc of that whole Mass Effect story, and you get three whole games to basically tell one character's story, which is something that I guess Assassin's Creed does.
But then it's not
does
you;
with
it's not your
Ezio.
choices.
Yeah. You don't have the same degree of ownership over it.
Male or
for me,
male or female Shepard? Do you feel like which one are you personally more attached to because of your playthroughs?
Yeah, I mean, like I did a lot of replaying and like playing and replaying of that, but like there's one, my particular like female Shepard is the one that was sort of like my primary connection through that.
So like when people talk about Mass Effect and you get excited for another one, whether it would star Shepard or not, like, you imagine her.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I Commander Shepard's really high up there. I think you can't discount the power of create a character, how much time you invest in that, and how much it emotionally grabs you. I think Fallout 4 plays with that to an interesting degree in the beginning. But with Commander Shepard, though, I just feel like I don't really have a good sense of who she is. I always give it the red letter media test, like without describing what she looks like or her job, what's she like? And it's
Well,
like,
she's
strong.
She's how you played her, is the
Right, but
thing.
I guess that's the angle. So how much are you going off of what BioWare wrote for Commander Shepard specifically versus how you twisted her?
How
Well,
I
like
twisted.
considering how Joe said, like, he even said he replays the game multiple times with multiple characters.
So it's just this nebulous. Does it water it down replaying it that way?
But you have to. You can't just take her out of there. She is her surroundings and the characters that play off of her and her environment as well. Like,
Also, you can't tell me that I didn't get attached to this. Like, you can't tell me the criteria by which I can connect with a character.
Oh no, I'm
yours.
not. Oh, I'm asking. I'm asking if it's because of your choices or it's because of the stuff BioWare wrote specifically for her.
because like male Shepard is pretty like people lift up. I think a lot of like female Shepard's performance because like male Shepard is kind of hollow sometimes as far as emotion goes. He reads pretty like one note, I think, but I still liked playing as him. I really wish I should go back to that trilogy and play as the female Shepard.
You should. Jennifer Hale does a really, really good job, it turns out. My old answer for this question was always aggro in Shadow of the Colossus. Like, you know, there's not a big cutscene with Aggro talking for a long time.
So what did you get? I mean, without describing that Aggro is a horse or what he looks like, what's he like? What is
the way he chooses left or right, loyal.
Did you not know that you felt attached until Aggro almost dies?
That was a huge part of it.
I worried about Aggro a lot. Like if I was, if it's she, right? Aggro's a she.
I think so. Yeah.
Like if
how would you ever discern that?
I think Wade said
the booklet. I think.
Oh, fair enough. Great.
But like
up
I
the
would worry,
dinosaur
like
skirt.
if it was one of those fights, like maybe even there was the smaller one in a cave with like the one that flows through the sand. I would always worry about Aggro getting hurt.
Sure. It's weird. And you know that like Egro, you knew that she wasn't gonna die, and like in Fallout 4, whenever like I don't know, like Dogmeat accidentally absorbs an entire nuclear blast from one of like the super mutant suiciders. Like her animation for trying to get back up, like Dogmeat's her animation is heart wrenching. Like it is so rough. Like, oh man. Anyway, but that's just a thing where it's like there's nothing about Dogmeat that I'm particularly. I feel bad when she feels bad that she didn't find anything for me. That maybe Dogmeat is just well realized, but mine is. First thing I wrote down was like Bowser, because like I just realized I like Bowser a lot over the years. Like his character design is like on point. Like he's a cool looking character, and like as far as like cool kind of cute kind of cool Mario characters, like their enemy design, like Nintendo's enemy design in the entire Mario series is some of the most consistent and charming and like varied and colorful. It's like they've nailed it. And Bowser in Bowser's Inside Story and stuff is just hilarious and charming. But honestly, beyond that, like Barry Burton is huge for me. Like
He's a cute, kind of cool Resident Evil character, I think.
yeah, he's a giant turtle dinosaur king. He is. Yeah. Anyway, Barry's way up there. I mean, like the amount of lines that I have prattled off from Barry among friends and stuff over the years is just. He's a culmination of things, and I love him.
The amount of conversations you've ground to a halt by bringing up Barry Burton are just
You guys got
Yeah, whatever. You can talk about NBA for like 20 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
I have more to say about
Frequency
NBA.
vibrations
Yeah.
is your answer for the character.
What's weird in that game is you can design the character like you
quiet.
can.
So I have a
in
quick
Mass
one.
Effect, but
We're done.
Yeah, Kyle.
I wouldn't say she's like the most. I don't really have an answer for the most emotionally
you
attached.
can't say your wife, Kyle.
Oh, all right. Well, let's move on then. No, I was because it's on my mind. Rise of the Tomb Raider. I was
sure.
thinking about it. I was talking to my wife about it, and I really don't like seeing the cutscenes where Laura gets like really badly injured.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes it's fun.
And they're lesser this time around, right?
Yeah, I haven't run to it quite as
deaths.
many, but like, because I mean, gore is kind of fun sometimes, but like seeing Laura get like severely injured because of my mistake is like a really solid like you messed up, you know? Like it's like because I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't want lives in video games anymore. I don't want a ticker telling me how many more tries I have. But in terms of like Tomb Raider, like that's a good punishment for messing up is like seeing her.
we're to
get really
torture your
injured.
favorite person.
I feel like
Yeah,
if you're gonna, I know. I feel similarly. Like if you were gonna have like all these like I'm a huge action hero, like I'm making all these jumps and stuff, and it's like this total like badass thing. Like the only thing that differentiates that from like a movie where Indiana Jones is never gonna fall into a spike pit and get terribly mangled is like, you know, maybe you don't want to see that stuff, but if you're gonna have those high stakes in those moments, I do like the contrast of like, look at if Indiana Jones blew it at these points, like look at how bad he blows it. If you blew that boulder part and you look back at that, like oh my god, like a toothpaste tube that got ran over by a truck, you know, like this is bad news.
I do love it when I started Rise of the Tomb Raider. Like it starts out and like you're on this whole glacier and the mountain, and you know crazy snow crap's going on. And like early on, I was with like my friend Jonah in the beginning, and we were exploring these mountains. And then I just like accidentally leapt off the mountain and watched like Lara Croft's body ragdolled on the mountain, and really thought like, what if I just stopped playing the game? And in my mind, like
That was your experience.
That is the end of Lara Croft's adventures. Is Jonah just watched her slip on this ice and fall to her death.
Far Cry 4 at a certain extent, where it's just like, yeah, this can wrap up in its own way, kind
Right,
of, if you
yeah.
want to. Anyway, that was a good question. So thank you, Bob, for writing in.
Whoever.
Mystery person.
Next one up is from Mike. From Houston, Texas. Hey guys, great job on the podcast this past year. Tim had talked about his experience playing Fallout 3 well past release date, where no one was talking about it, and he got to enjoy it in his own void, so to speak. Oh, like my own like little.
You didn't have people like
yeah.
yelling at
It was
you
just like
about
me
it.
in an
Yeah,
isolation
Fallout's
chamber
awesome.
with it.
Yeah.
Do you think with social media being so prevalent in the gaming and games media that whenever there's a big game, quote unquote, event, game that releases, it affects people's enjoyment or experience with it when they play it near a release window as opposed to after? Keep up the good work, Mike from Houston, Texas. So I mean, the gist of it from what I gather is like, you know, hype can sometimes affect experiences if you feel like you've maybe ever enjoyed something because you just experienced it on your own terms, you didn't get exhausted by the conversation around it maybe.
Yeah, I don't. It's so tough. I feel a sense of guilt playing games if I've taken too long. Metal Gear Solid 5 seems like you guys blasted through really quickly. I know Dan Riker blasted through really quickly, and it's like, God, I wanted to be in that conversation. I wanted to be on that spoiled, but I just
And
didn't
we
get
wanted to
through it in
talk
time.
to you about it specifically because
I
you're a
know.
big Metal Gear fan. It's a weird thing.
And so I guess like the biggest sensation for me playing games late to the party like that, it's not like, oh, I'm playing in the void and it's all great. Like I just feel guilty. Maybe if you let it die long enough, then you can do it in peace. But like just that guilt of like, ugh, I don't even want to talk to people about this because I feel like I'm going to annoy them, being like, "Hey, remember Metal Gear Solid 5's ending, everybody?"
Yeah.
Like months down the road, it's like no one cares.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of a double-edged sword in that, like, you can maybe get exposed to things that you don't want to get exposed to if you're playing it at the same time that everyone else is, because it's all everyone's talking about, and it can sort of, the hype can maybe fatigue you on it. But at the same time, I think there is a real value, just us being who we are in the office. There's a real value to like everyone coming in and having that like 20-minute powwow in the morning, being like, "Hey, what about like, did you get this far in Metal Gear last night? What's going on in Fallout?"
Yeah.
Or, like I feel like I'm missing out on this a little now with The Witcher, because like I'm playing it
Right.
now, and it's like people. Well, I guess The Witcher's a little different because a lot of people are still playing The Witcher.
Right.
But I feel like the sort of that game's moment has passed. So here I am, like plugging through it, and
Right.
it's all old news at this
You
point.
guys remember Dandelion?
Yeah, exactly.
Woof. I feel like Dark Souls is maybe one of those where it's like, playing it in the moment as people are trying to decipher the cryptic nature of From Software games is exciting. And I actually think that's something that is a benefit to playing it when it's on people's minds. But also, I think that sort of like conversation around those games when I wasn't into them was kind of like exhausting and felt kind of alienating to a certain degree. But I guess sometimes it's nice just to unplug and enjoy something without having like this constant, like I gotta go on Twitter and say this thing and put my thought out there, and then you spend as much time talking about it as playing it. I don't know.
Do you feel pressure to tweet about every game you play?
No, not necessarily, but I do like trying to like just toss my phone across the room and completely detaching from it and sitting down to play a game, because sometimes I will just like pause or like I find myself reaching for a cell phone during like some cutscenes and stuff. And given I was, I'll tune out from bad cutscenes and stuff like that. But
I always think that's a good. All reviews for Telltale episodes should just be how many times did you check Twitter throughout it. If it's a 0 Twitter check episode, it's a hell of an episode.
Yeah,
like I've gotten up to like 5 or
a
6.
good barometer.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Should we move on?
Yeah, maybe one more if you got one.
Okay, yeah. Connor from Wyoming. Hi all. As per every email, great podcast. Keep up the good work. Connor goes on to say that our podcast has inspired and informed his. Also calls you Chris Hansen, by the way. Do you have something to tell us?
I have sweet tea and cookies. That's what the little girls say in that show.
Yeah, it's just a route. I thought you were going to say do a take a seat route. But,
Okay.
It's good. Anyway, that he does his own podcast and we've inspired him. So thank you. And he likes the Dark Souls stuff that Tack and I did. Anyway, thank you for the kind words, everybody. Anyway,
Anything else about you that he likes?
yeah, my eyes. Wow, thank you. Very specific. Anyway, now for something completely different. Firewatch cannot come out soon enough for me. I'm a Wyoming native and have always felt like my beautiful home state is forgotten and everyone outside it is forgotten by everyone outside it. But now that I'm loving seeing it more in media now, including Firewatch and the show Longmire. I don't know about that one. My question is this: is there a setting you feel isn't given enough attention and would like to see in a game? As far as I'm concerned, this could be a real place or something out of Tim's fever dreams. Thanks,
us about
Connor.
those.
Yeah,
I'd say like Idaho, 1989, the wilderness. No, I don't know. Thank you for being excited about Firewatch, by the way. Assuming that maybe our conversation last week
it
with
was
Sean Vanneman
specifically
was sparked by that.
he was following up on that.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. That's nice.
Part of what I paraphrased.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone used to always say the Renaissance. And it was like, oh, Assassin's Creed tackled it. All right, what else we got?
Inside a volcano.
Metroid?
like a fire level.
Oh yeah.
like any fire level.
I have a lot to introduce to you, Kyle. Also, another one that people used to say is World War I, and then Valiant Hearts, I feel like, knocked it out of the park.
But a
last year.
different route.
Sure.
Okay, I have two things to say about this. One, my answer used to be like 1800s London, and then Syndicate came out. Like
Right,
Assassin's Creed,
and nails it.
Which I think really, but like shows like Peaky Blinders and stuff, like really make that era seem cool.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing, and like not era specific at all, but I think just something that games in general I like is just when they do have a very strong like sense of place and time. So it's not even necessarily a specific time, like 1950s America or something, as much as it is like pick a time, pick a place, and like convey it well. I think a game like Gone Home and the 90s does that really well. Or, the sort of like weird, perversion on the era that you see in like Rapture, BioShock,
or Vice
Fallout.
City.
Yeah, exactly. Vice City is another fantastic example of that. So, yeah, so more than just like a specific time and place, I just really like when a game is very deliberate about their choice and make sure that you get a good sense of it as you're playing.
I think Hotline Miami, like speaking of like perversions of them, like has done a really good job with that with like the late 80s, early 90s and stuff too. I guess I feel like I didn't realize I cared about this until I played the beginning of GTA 5, which takes place, is that South Dakota or North Dakota? One of the Dakotas.
It's
but
just
it's snowy and it felt like home as a Minnesotan. During the winter, I just realized, like, God, is there stories to tell? With Fargo being as popular as, and I got season 1 sitting next to my TV. I cannot wait to watch Fargo, given all the praise. But like, would there be some sort of like murder mystery exploration kind of thing that could happen in Minnesota?
Oh, you mean Puzzle Agent, that game we talked about on last week's episode?
Yeah, Puzzle Agent. I haven't gotten around to that.
Okay.
Or there's the Crew. You could just kind of drive to Minnesota and just drive around for a little bit.
No, except you can't.
No, you can go to the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's no. There's no Minnesota. It's like
Well, it's not actually Minnesota, but there's some cows in the Minnesota region.
Because that's how you
That map
define
is
Minnesota.
like that thing that people do on the internet where you remove someone's nose and just collapse their eyes. That's what did to Minnesota with the nose.
Minnesota is some weird combination of like Chicago and Michigan. Like,
Oh, you mean
smashed
Minnesota?
together.
That's right.
Oh, Schmichigan. Minnesota.
Well, so on that,
Illinois.
Minishkin.
kind of on that idea of like of
Oh,
you
my little Minishkin.
of you like sort of like something feeling like home. Like I always like after getting really into like GTA 3 and Vice City, I just remember thinking like, and this would never happen, but I wonder if other people kind of feel the same way. Of like, I would love like GTA, but like a perfect recreation of like the town I grew up in.
Right, of
like
course.
The idea of like going into a game and knowing exactly where everything is like immediately, like that's attractive and will never exist, but is kind of a cool idea.
I can just put on some like pixelating goggles on you and you can walk around your hometown. But I had that same thought with like, I love where I grew up, like in the woods and whatnot, in the wilderness. And so I was thinking like, God, I just was thinking about it this week. Like I should go into Minecraft and perfectly recreate like the 33 acres that I grew up on and then just like show it to my parents. Be like, hey, isn't this freaky?
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
They'd be like, how does this work?
I've actually thought about that. I've thought about like, man, like we could like put together the Game Informer office pretty much in Minecraft, and like people could like log into a server and sort of like get a sense of the space more or less. And like, yeah,
Can someone mod
I
a
like
Counter-Strike map? Actually, I think that would be more interesting.
yeah, we could just like fight each other. I'd be on Team Joe.
But to get back to this guy's original question a little bit, the obvious example that I always have is just dinosaurs. Like it seems like
Yeah.
more games are
Prehistoric.
tackling the open world dinosaur thing. Like Ark Survival Evolved is destroying it on Steam. I still think it's a little too janky for me, but someday I'm going to get into it. But so it seems like the indie scene is pushing into the dinosaur era, but I'm still waiting for that big AAA dinosaur game.
And another thing I would have said is the Friday the 13th type thing. Like I had in my, like, if you had read what I wanted in a Friday the 13th game, like I wrote a couple years ago, like this Kickstarter is essentially going for that thing, but like leaning in on like the 80s sort of VHS aesthetic of those movies, and also down to like the asymmetrical gameplay and stuff like that. Like that's something I've wanted for a while. And we're also getting more of it with like the Blood Dragon-y Hotline Miami kind of stuff. So
Yeah. I have one that I want to see more games set in is like early America exploration. Not even like 1700s, but it's goes well for today being Thanksgiving Day, but like Pilgrim era, just like early dangerous kind of first encounters with Native Americans, those two
feelings
cultures clashing.
the feelings you got when you first heard about Assassin's Creed 3, but then it didn't kind of become that.
Yeah, but that's even I want earlier than that. And like the closest I think I've come, there's like Age of Empires 3, I guess, a little bit, but the closest I think I've come is Banished. Did you guys ever play Banished on Steam? It's a sim game, but then there's also kind of like a survival aspect. Joe, I think you'd really like Banished.
I have it actually. I just haven't played much of it.
Okay, it's satisfying on that level, but more in that era.
I like the movie Ravenous a lot. Have you seen Ravenous, Ben?
No.
I'm going to show you Ravenous. Because it takes place, it's like Westward Expansion, like Manifest Destiny, and like all the dangers of the isolation that can come with that.
Love
Like,
it.
Now you guys got me thinking about how
It's got
awesome it
Robert
would be.
Carlyle.
What if there were a game where you're Teddy Roosevelt and you're just sort of
But you're a robot?
no,
Ninja?
you're normal Teddy Roosevelt. And
I don't get it. Let's suck it up, Joe. What else you got?
No, okay, never.
Bully, sir.
Forget it.
No, please go. I want to hear that.
No, that was pretty much as far as I got. Just
Oh,
sort of
okay.
like no, like an open world game where you're like Teddy Roosevelt out there like fighting animals.
Oh,
and,
Five Nights at
okay.
Teddy's.
That's right.
Okay.
Basically,
what about
the George Washington video is that. Just make that real. Open world, 70 hours.
I think it's Far Cry DLC coming up as
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Do we have an email of the week? Thank you, Connor, for that last one, by the way. What tickled you guys?
I like the guy who had the extra information about Peepo being in the dictionary, but he didn't have a name.
Well, we can add that.
Yeah, I like Will's Game of the Year discussion as well.
I like that kind of question too. Just sort of like, we as much as we can talk about like letting some insight into what can and can't happen in a Game of the Year discussion, or like how we think about things is kind of fun. Yeah.
What do you guys like?
Let's go with
Game
Will.
of the Year discussion.
Yeah,
All right.
I think the 2D games versus big budget games, and reminding people
Like
that
Hearthstone
they're all
versus big
contenders.
budget games.
It's as much as the game's quality as it is like the company that it keeps for Game of the Year talks. That's from for Will from Palo Alto, California. Thank you, Will. We'll send you a little something for that, a little thank you. And if you have questions or emails or whatever, podcast@GameInformer.com. So.
All right, before we leave this listener feedback section, we're going to try something freaky. Just the weirdest thing. We're going to try, not technically live, but while we're recording, we're going to take Skype calls so we can be like a real radio call-in show. Joe, why are you laughing?
I think this is gonna be fun. I hope we get some
Real
interesting
weirdos.
calls.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's see who's on the line.
Hi, is this Thomas?
Hey guys.
Hey, Thomas. Thanks for calling the Game Informer show. We got Ben Hansen, Kyle, Joe, and me. I'm Tim.
Hey Tim.
Is that a cat?
Yeah, that's my cat.
Oh, what's your
What's
cat's
his
name?
Aria.
Oh, that's pretty good. Of Sorrow or the
Or of Game of Thrones.
Game of
okay.
Game of
Or the
Thrones.
band
Gotcha.
from my own the metal band from my old home.
She was an orphan when I found her,
well,
so I thought it fit.
How's her vision doing?
Bless your heart.
Her vision's good. She is an assassin.
Oh,
my gosh.
that's beautiful.
Of
right.
mice, I hope. What makes you call in today? Any questions on your mind?
Okay, so the question I thought of, I have all sorts of questions for you guys, but after the first Beyond Good and Evil replay,
Ooh.
or Super Replay episode, question. Is Dan Tack always that hard to read? Is it like meetings you're talking about, a visit, something like that? And he's just like, no, that's not a good idea. And then never elaborates on it. And you have no idea whether he likes the idea for a feature or not.
It's basically like off air. Dantak is just like Chris Tucker.
Just
I'd say Hitch more, like Will Smith and Hitch.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait,
Kevin
Will
James
Smith
or
and
Hitch?
Hitch or
Yeah.
It's lovable no matter what.
I think that Dan Tack, to his absolute credit, is got a really like comparable. Like he doesn't like play things up for videos, and
Right.
he's pretty. You've probably got as about as good read on him as we do. I think.
You don't get a lot of fluff when you're talking to Tag. Like he's definitely
that seems about right.
and I mean this in a good way. Is that like he keeps things like concise and to the point.
He's very calculating. Like
Right.
he likes to be in control of everything that he's saying. And so even when he's calculating with his silliness, which is something we're not used to because Tim and I are shotgun blasts of silly.
Right.
And whereas he like, we'll be like talking in the bullpen, we call it like a little office area, and we'll just be making jokes or whatever. Like I remember, this is just one stupid example, but like we're talking about Puzzle and Dragons, and I jokingly said like, oh, Puzz and D. And then Dan just like echoes from the back of the room, Puzz and D. Like he just like has like calculated moments of like, this is where I contribute to this conversation by being silly and repeating the last silly thing I heard, but then not changing facial expression at all.
Right.
But he likes to be in reserved control, and I respect that. Also, like friends of mine who listen to the Game Informer Show podcast, they said that like Dan Tack's a tough read, but watching the YouTube version, it does give some insight into his personality.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I find him hilarious, and I definitely, it's almost like endearingly hilarious at the same time, even though he's not trying to be. I don't
Right.
think.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's great.
He's an enigma, and he's fascinating and incredibly knowledgeable.
Also,
Yeah,
Thomas,
absolutely.
the surprise is that He's actually sitting in on this podcast as well. He's here to say
he's
hello.
right behind
No,
you.
he's
What's up, Dan Tack?
He's not sorry.
Well, Thomas, thanks for calling in, and I recognize
guys.
your name from podcast emails and stuff. So thank you. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
And have a great ride.
And the podcast length is great. Just throwing that out there.
You're
Love it.
contributing to it right now. Thank you, Thomas.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye, Arya.
Hey, J-Town, you on the line?
Well, hello?
Hey, man, welcome to the Game Informer Show. You're on with Tim, Joe, Kyle, and me, Ben Hansen.
How do you say your first name?
Jared.
Jared. Okay.
Well,
That-
welcome,
Ben,
Jared.
Ben Hansen called you J-Town, so your confusion is understandable.
That's what I call my girlfriend.
Right.
No, J-Town, J-Pop.
This is Tim's girlfriend.
Is her name
J-Train.
Jared also?
It's,
Are you Jared?
Never mind. Okay.
What's your
I love
question,
you.
Jared?
I didn't actually think of a question. I just saw you tweet it, and I was like, why not? I installed Skype for you guys.
What do you want to talk about, man?
What's the topic of the show today?
Oh, man.
Video games.
Yeah, do you want to talk about NBA 2K16?
No, you
Please don't.
No.
What's your
That's the right answer.
What's your game of the year, Jared?
Shoot.
What are you playing right now?
I like the Halo 5 multiplayer a lot.
Okay.
Fallout 4 is pretty fun.
Did you think that we were too harsh on the Warzone mode in Halo 5?
No, I mean, like I listen to the Bombcast too, and
Not familiar.
they talk on there about how, and same opinion you guys had of like the meta game of the rec packs and stuff gets in the way of like the match to match gameplay, and I totally understand that. Like I don't necessarily feel the same way, but I totally see why that would be a thing.
Yeah. So are you just enjoying?
I liked it.
Are you enjoying just the base multiplayer then, like the more competitive stuff?
Yeah, I've always been more of like an arena Slayer type Halo player.
Better than Halo 4, would you say?
Halo 4 is a terrible video game, so yeah.
Ooh, boy, the harshness of the Game Informer community comes out.
I'd say so far the campaign between Halo 4 and 5 are similar degrees of completely forgettable for me.
Yeah.
But I played Halo 5's multiplayer, so I guess that's got it going for it.
Definitely. Well, hey, Jared, thanks so much for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thanks for
installing
having
Skype.
me.
Thank-
All right, bye, Jared. Hello, Nicholas.
Hello.
Weird. Hi, man. How's it going?
Pretty well, you know. Working on pre-production for my short film coming up and drinking.
Oh, sounds
So-
good.
What does pre-production
go
look like for you, Nicholas?
Right now I'm busy trying to cast small children, which is the hardest thing to do, and lock down locations for a hotel I need. But everything else is smooth sailing right now.
That sounds like Joe's kind of film.
Awesome.
Hotels and small.
Classy.
Oh, geez. Well, the small children will not be in the hotel. There's nothing. There's no tomfoolery going on there. I promise.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the Game Informer Show, random caller, Nick. What do you want to talk about, man?
Since I'm drinking right now, I wanted to ask, what are some of your favorite alcoholic beverages?
This is Tim's favorite question.
I like drinking. I mean, I like drinks. I think they're delicious.
You're fascinated by like what you can put in your body. Like your favorite question is like, what's your No, but your favorite question is like, what do people like to eat? What do you like to drink?
Yeah, it's like core things of life, the things that you use to sustain yourself. We'll get a little, but during the summer months, I like to drink beer, even if I've been like on a wine and like wine and scotch. I like them because you can drink them, you take your time with them, you don't need any ice cubes, you just drink it all neat, and you can have the bottle and a glass there and you just go. But beer during warmer months is like hard to pass up.
And scotch, that's your like calorie saving.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like, you don't have to mix it with anything, and you drink it. You tend to pace yourself because it's not supposed to be drank quickly.
Right.
If you're not careful, you can even drink wine quickly. So,
All right, but there you go, Nick. I also like beer and wine when I'm playing a Telltale game.
really,
Very, very specific.
It's like every time I sit down for a Telltale game, it's like I'm gonna get a nice big glass of wine, sit down for 2 hours of tapping the A button.
that sounds so stupid.
I go to gin and tonics and scotch. It's pretty much my
I
alcohol.
like that. I like that a lot.
Yep.
Sound like my type of man.
Kyle likes his spit and melted popsicles.
That's
are the
right.
only two things
That's
that he
my
drinks.
favorite. Basically, whatever's around.
What are you drinking?
I'm not a
Nick?
big drinker.
What I'm drinking right now, I'm drinking Guinness. You know, that's a proper, I don't know, heavier drink that I usually have with me in terms of beer.
With a wood stick.
Usually have that stocked. And,
Do you ever do a black and tan?
Yes.
Oh, those are delicious.
They're pretty damn tasty. Then usually whiskey is what I go to when it's just sipping time. You know, sit in the dark in a corner and think about life.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for calling in, Nick. I'll let you continue to sit in a corner and sip and think about children in hotels.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right, best of luck with the movie, dude.
Thanks.
Bye. Hello, Logan Ryan.
Oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, man. Welcome to the Game Informer show.
Yeah, Logan, you write into the podcast quite a bit. We've asked quite a few of your questions. Thank you.
How many question of the week things have you won, Logan?
Only one, but you guys talk to me a lot on Twitter, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, perfect. Whatever you do, don't say what you won, because it's a grand old mystery. But you received the mystery prize, right?
Yeah, and it's very, very cool.
What's your question, Logan?
It's not really video game related, but it's Star Wars related, which I really like Star Wars a lot. So
It's appropriate
The
for a
question
section we have
is-
coming up.
do you think the prequels are really as big of a travesty as everybody claims? Because I think there's actually some pretty great moments, basically every Jedi fight, and then I think Episode 3 is genuinely a pretty good movie, despite some people not liking, the Darth Vader no at the end. But I was like, I can look past that. I thought it was a pretty good ending. The whole Mustafar fight with Obi-Wan and Anakin was pretty cool.
The soundtrack to that fight.
Logan, you're calling in from Richvale, California, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you wrote this email as well. I pulled it for our Star Wars conversation because it's a good question, which is, hey, they're looked back on as a travesty, but is there any redeeming qualities in it? And I went back and actually watched episode 1 this weekend, and I was going to pull this, for that segment and talk about it there, but I feel like 1 is worse than you remember in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
The CG is actually much worse than I think that I remembered. The lightsaber scenes, like those fights, are still solid, but even then, like there's also like a cheesiness to Darth Maul. When you go
really?
back around, Darth Maul's still really cool,
Yeah.
especially his death, but. There's a cheesiness to it, but I also still really like, Ben, you play up the scene where Darth Maul's just like cut off by the force field and just
love it.
pacing and just like seething at Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon just total meditates, and it's such a cool like, given like if you just halted a lightsaber fight between a Jedi and a Sith right in the like, what would they do? And
great.
they're completely it's pretty true to form what I think that they would do.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. When we brought up the sound design in the pod racing scene
Yeah,
is
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. There's standout moments, but it's not worth rewatching them for those standout moments.
Not generally.
I think there's also just I don't know. I guess I tend to agree in that, like, I actually liked the third movie quite a bit.
I dare you to go back and watch it though. Because at the time,
I have.
Yeah, but
Hey,
still.
I've watched it multiple times. It's still really good.
Yeah.
How many-
Especially the opening in space is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I
Especially-
agree with Logan about the third one too.
I think that fight, the like Obi-Wan Anakin fight, is the only time in the prequels that like I felt like they lived up to my expectation.
Yes.
That fight was what like in my imagination I had hoped.
And the full circle thing was like, I think really well done if you ignore like the people age really quickly in 20 years. That whole paradox or whatever but like that's what I had in my mind when I was getting excited for the Phantom Pain. It was kind of like, oh, will it close the gap as well as the Revenge of the Sith did?
Yeah.
That's everything I had in mind, except the scene I wanted so badly from Revenge of the Sith was, and this is nerdy, but I wanted to see the first red lightsaber. I wanted to see Anakin like pick up the first red lightsaber. So the fact that the final fight it's 2 blue lightsabers, it annoyed me.
That's really
That's
so.
a
What
weird thing
halfway
to
through
do.
the fight, he like picks up a rock in the volcano, and it's a
podcast about they don't get handed a red lightsaber, they make a red lightsaber, so you're kind of blowing it with that whole thing right there, Hanson.
But then if
Yeah.
he made it in a cave like Luke did ahead of time, that'd be a cool scene.
Oh yeah, with all the time he had between killing all the younglings and all the other Jedi.
He could have stolen one of the younglings' red lightsabers.
No, the younglings don't make those. Those are evil lightsabers. Yoda would kick that youngling out so fast. Red, huh? Okay, you're out.
And I generally think the Order 66, that whole moment was actually really like, emotional and powerful, even though you kind of saw it coming, because obviously it was going to happen, but it was, I think it was probably the best moment in the whole prequels,
Yeah.
just in my opinion.
I agree that Episode 3 stands out as being actually a solid sci-fi movie among the.
One is like, it starts cool and it's like boring. 2 is like, has cool moments, but it's not very well written or acted. And then 3 is generally, I think, a good movie. Not great, but it's good.
I will say Jar Jar Binks is just as bad or worse than you remember.
Absolutely, 100%. You
So-
could cut him out of the entire thing. And
You know, I'm only 19. I was pretty young when I saw it. I was like, I think he's kind of funny, but, I guess I was wrong. But, whatever.
yeah.
I'm sorry, young Logan. You might be right.
Jar Jar Binks has not aged as well as fart jokes. Like, fart jokes are still,
Kyle.
Yeah,
timeless.
All right, but hey, Logan, thank you so much for calling in, man, and thanks for listening to the Game Informer Show.
I really like this Skype thing. You should do it more often.
We will
Actually,
certainly
talk to you
try,
guys.
man. Look out for that train. I'll talk to you later.
That's all right.
It's all right. See you, man.
So that was a little bit of an experiment for this episode of the Game Informer Show. It
was fun.
Yeah, stay tuned. We might do it again. You never know when, but we usually record on a Wednesday. So stay tuned around that time. Afternoons on Wednesdays, we'll maybe do that again. But next up, we have a long conversation about Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. We're not trying to go into spoiler territory, but it's going to be as much guesses about maybe what might happen in the movie as how it might be received and looking back at the previous film. So stay tuned for that.
And welcome back to the Informer Show. Hey, are you guys looking forward to this Force Awakens movie?
I don't know what you're talking
Is that
about.
the new Star Trek sequel?
That's right.
Oh, yeah, J.J. Abrams. I love his Star Trek movies.
So we lost to Kyle, we lost to Joe, but we picked up Big Bad Papa Reiner,
Yeah, that's me.
and then little Padme, Joe Noop, intern.
Padawan.
Padawan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Padme-wan.
Star Wars fan number 1.
Padme opens up a whole new can of worms.
But yes, an intern, Joe. Welcome to the podcast, Joe.
Hey,
You might recognize him as the worst drawer from our Extra Life charity stream during the Pictionary segment.
desecrating the memory of Bob Ross.
Yeah.
Ironically dressed as Bob Ross during Pictionary. It was great. But you drew a mean Boba Fett.
I drew the greatest Slave One symbol there ever was.
Oh boy, Reiner, have you ever looked forward to a movie more than Force Awakens?
Yeah, probably The Phantom Menace.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, take yourselves back to that day. It was what, 20 some years, 30 years, whatever. You didn't have a Star Wars movie. George Lucas is returning with the story of how Darth Vader came to be.
There's
was
that
huge.
awesome poster of the shadow that was Darth Vader.
Well, it was weird for me where it was like, I guess the special editions were like 96 or something like that, or mid 90s. And so like, I guess it was just a few more years because like that's where I really fell in love with Star Wars. I didn't grow up watching them. They were like that thing that happened on the Muppet Babies sometimes, and I didn't really know the reference.
I get that reference.
Yeah, there's a TIE fighter in the intro to the show. And so, but then I did get excited. I watched Phantom Menace like 5 times.
I remember learning about Star Wars from reading Rainbow because there's a scene where there's an episode that's all about aliens, and they showed the clip from the cantina, and then it cut back to like LeVar Burton like laughing like, isn't that crazy? And then I didn't watch it until like I was being babysat by like some neighbor friends, and they played it. And I was like, oh, this is what that clip was from, and this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I don't know. I can't think of a movie I was looking forward to more than Episode 7. Like obviously Jurassic World, but I think my expectations were pretty low going into that, whereas my expectations are reasonably high for Force Awakens
Yeah, so
now.
after the prequel trilogy, you had George Lucas just kind of like steal the thunder from this license, right? Like everyone's kind of disappointed. Like, yes, Revenge of the Sith was pretty good compared to the other 2 movies, but it just felt like as a Star Wars fan, you're just kind of defeated. And then it's like, oh, we're going to make more movies. And it's like, okay, you're going to do 7. And it's like, George Lucas isn't going to do it. And you're like, okay. All right, there's something here maybe. And then they announced J.J. Abrams, who made some great Star Trek movies and has been consistent with most of his films. I thought he was a good pick. And then he said, I'm taking it back to the New Hope era, and we're going to have like sets and actual props. And it was like, okay, I'm on board again. So I would say this is probably the second most excited I've been for a movie.
The fact that in the making of that they debuted at Comic-Con, that they had a whole section just devoted like, look at this film moving in this camera, everybody. Like they know that audience, and he wants to bring back that 70s vibe so much. But I could tell from Joe Noop's inhale that he didn't like Star Trek Into Darkness.
Not that I didn't like it, just that I don't know if it was so much universally loved. It was people had a lot of qualms about the nature of the story and how was it Khan, was treated as this big reveal, but like the script just had nothing there to build up to it, as opposed to the TV show, which of course had like a couple years leading up to that plot. So it just didn't have half the weight.
So you feel like they didn't earn it, kind of?
No. And that's my biggest worry with Force Awakens is, I'm not as worried, but will we have the buildup worthy enough of introducing all these new characters, all these new elements, and then the callbacks, of course, that we're going to get tons of.
maybe too many of. I was
Maybe
really
too many
worried
of.
in a TV spot where I saw Poe say, "We're gonna have company." I was like,
Oh
okay.
boy, yeah. Also, Reiner was laying down the like weird Beastie Boy.
Oh my
references
God. Okay, you
to
guys
me.
ready for this?
Not really.
Okay, so there's a new character, a new X-wing pilot. He's an alien. He's cool looking. His name is Allo Nasty or Allo Asti. Allo Asti, which is Hello Nasty, Beastie Boys album, right?
You think it's a
Oh, it's
direct
not like
reference?
not like
It is.
aloe vera merchandise tie.
But on his helmet, in a different language, it says "licensed to ill."
How do you know that?
Someone
Like,
figured it out.
Which language? Oh, you don't know.
It's you can find it on the
so it's,
internet.
it's a legitimate Earth language.
Yeah, so that
Beastie
is
Boysian.
100% a Beastie Boys call out, which J.J. Abrams at the beginning of Star Trek had Sabotage playing, which was totally out of place for Star Trek,
It was
right?
cool. I like that scene.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I don't like that scene. But also BB-8, the name BB-8, he said, "Oh, I came up with the name because they're round and he's round and it's 8s and Bs look like that." Beastie Boys, BB, had 8 albums.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
All right, that's a good point, though. That's what you're most worried about, though, is just having these callbacks. What is everybody most worried about with this film?
I mean, yeah, it's if the actors aren't into it, it's going like it's already.
I think the actors are into it. I just wonder if the script is there to make it feel as
Yes.
emotionally compelling as all these trailers have obviously made us feel up to this point.
Right.
I guess I feel like my worry would be that what we see on screen from the original actors does not gel with like how they acted in the original movies and what we remember of them. And like, you're playing with fire when you have like a bunch of new characters that you want people to get attached to and calling back all these old ones. And I think that you put that well, Joe, but I'm also, that's just like a bit of hesitation. Otherwise, I'm actually really excited. And the fact that they're leaning so hard on practical effects and like, that's a huge deal to me. And it's taking those learnings from the prequels and stuff like that. But like, I still think that like some of like the worst practical effects can still feel more believable than some of the best like, CG.
I'm totally there with you. And you look at the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy just feel different.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, if you go back and watch A New Hope, it looks like crap. It really does. Like those effects are old, that 70s technology, but you still believe in it a little more than you do when you see characters walking on a CG planet that's like over animated, or characters are over animated like Jar Jar Binks, right?
The best testament of like the strength of these practical effects is actually a fan-made trailer someone made of the George Lucas special edition trailer of the original teaser where Finn, hops out of the desert all sweaty and everything, and you see Jabba the Hutt like in the background being like, "Hey!"
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
Or a Dewback just walking by in front of the camera.
Yeah. To talk about like the characters gelling together and like reprising these classic characters, I think that's going to be the biggest thing is not having these new characters sink in, where it's just going to be watching this movie and thinking like, these are fine characters, but they're just so fresh and new and not iconic, and I'm not attached to them in any way. I think it's going to be jarring to be watching this movie and just like not immediately being gripped by these new
I
characters.
don't think
like
that's
out of
going to be the
place.
case at all. I think you're going to just have the iconic stuff is going to be Stormtrooper armor, X-Wings, TIE fighters.
That's the nice thing is that they can have new characters that are housed in familiar, trappings and stuff like that.
Archetypes. Was anyone familiar with any actor besides who played Obi-Wan? It was
Alec
Sir
Guinness.
Alec Guinness. Yeah. Hi, I'm young. No one recognized any of those people. Harrison Ford was a carpenter prior to that, so I don't think there's a danger of that.
I think there's the scene in the trailers that had me a little bit worried about the performance of the actors, and this is the dumbest small thing to worry about in an out of context trailer. But the scene where Finn and Rey are introducing each other, it was the first time where like I heard them speak and I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. I don't know if they're going to
What do
sell
you
me
want him to
acting
sound
wise.
like
I'm
Doctor
just-
Who or something?
I don't know. I wanted to be gripped by that scene, and it was just like, I'm Rey. Hello, I'm Finn. It was like, oh boy.
Maybe it's more the writing. Like it's
Yeah.
like really that's
Maybe they
it's
just
gonna
want
be that
people
simple?
watching that trailer to know those characters' names.
I think they totally do, yeah. But I think those trailers, I mean, the music's a huge part of it, but they all just feel so magical and so immaculate. And then it's like, oh, this is what it's actually going to be like to watch this movie. I'm going to have to listen to these people actually talk instead of just hearing an awesome John Williams score and seeing practical effects.
I saw an extended clip of Rey and Finn running through the desert as like a TIE fighter's laying down fire on them, and they're talking the whole time, and I was just like gripped. Like it was like the scene ended, I was like, whoa, wait, let's Keep that going because it was good. The banter was really good. If you haven't seen that one clip
I don't
yet,
think I have seen that. No.
Oh, it's really good.
Okay.
There's a good humor to it, and it feels like Star Wars.
This is the other big thing that I think is really going to impact us. This is my prediction for episode 7, is we're all going to be shocked by how funny it is or how much they go for comedy. Like, you forget how jokey A New Hope can be. Like, the entire Death Star sequence, like, it's super jokey, and I love it for that. And clearly Star Trek movies that J.J. Abrams made are super jokey. Super 8 has plenty of comedy in it. But remember in his Star Trek reboot when, like, what's the captain? Kirk. When his hand, I'm sorry.
He's Jesus, yes.
When Kirk's hands, like, because he's allergic to the thing and it starts like inflating and stuff, like, it's a wacky comedy scene. And I think they realize that comedy is an important part of the Star Wars universe, but there's not been an ounce of that in any of the trailers, and I think that's going to shock a lot of fans, like how jokey it is.
I mean, that's harder to land. Like, reminding people, I think it's important to remind people that there's funny stuff in those movies because I don't think that's the stuff that's most commonly remembered. People don't say, like, Star Wars, like, oh, yeah, like, I love the trash compactor scene, but that's not the first scene that anyone's ever going to say.
It's kind of a distressing kind of funny because if you take it to the far extreme, you, of course, get Jar Jar Binks.
Exactly. It's just comedy. It's like jokes for the sake of jokes, not jokes for the sake of levity in an incredibly impossible, like, odds stacked against you situation.
There's one scene in one of the TV spots where Han Solo, like, hands, I think, Finn a blaster. He's like, you're going to need this. Like, I think that's, like, the closest to, like, a jokey thing that we've seen, really.
Or BB-8 flipping around or whatever.
Yeah, little BB.
But the thing that's interesting about this is, according to the internet, people obviously don't know, nobody has the script, is like all the stuff you're seeing in these clips is roughly a third or a half of the movie. Like, we haven't seen, like, what's beyond a certain point.
Like, they're gating the stuff they're showing.
They're not showing
tanker
certain points.
sequence from Metal Gear Solid 2, I think, is what you're going at.
Are you sure?
If there's anything we can learn from these trailers, it's that they are being very guarded about the story, and they know going in that we need to keep some level of that third climactic act a secret, or else we are blowing it way too early.
But you guys, I mean, they've shown, like, the battle on the snow planet. Like, that's going to be the climax of the movie,
I think
right?
that's the beginning of the movie.
I think you're right.
The fact that you guys are debating this that's exciting.
Not the beginning, but I think you see that gun, the ship fire. I think and I don't want to spoil anything, but there's something big tied. This isn't just a Death Star that's firing.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we see in, like, most of the trailers that Poe is captured by likely Kylo Ren. And is that going to be like the tease into Episode 8, or is that going to be like some major halfway twist where it's like, now we've got to rescue this early beloved character?
Well, that's an interesting point because there's a good interview with J.J. Abrams. He's done 1,000 of these, and I feel so sorry for him to have to keep talking about, like, oh, the first time I saw Star Wars, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, poor him. He's got to talk about the Star Wars movie he's making.
But he did an interview for Wired that I think was really good, where they talked about just that idea of how much to keep back. And he stressed the idea that, like, yeah, there's still a ton that you didn't know. Like, you didn't see Yoda until Empire Strikes Back. There's a ton of mystery they want to leave in there that we just want to plant seeds. So I am also thinking that people are going to be shocked by how little is ultimately revealed by the end of Episode 7. I think it's going to be a lot of teases. I bet it's just a tease of Luke. Like, they're going to be trying to hunt down Luke. They maybe find him at the very end or get a better glimpse of what's going on there. But I bet that people are going to be like, well, I was expecting all the answers about Andy Serkis' character, about yada, yada, yada. But it's not
we
gonna
haven't
be there.
even seen the big bad guy in this movie
Mr.
yet.
Snoke?
Yeah, so we'll see.
The bad guy's name is Snoke?
Yeah.
Supreme Leader.
Supreme Leader Snoke.
So we just know his name.
But he said that he's, like, scarred. That's all we know about him.
Huge. He's a huge
you
character.
couldn't do Supreme Leader Snoke with practical effects. That's why they chose to go with Serkis as his typical, like, CGI role.
Okay, gotcha.
So George Lucas has been popping up recently. He did an interview with Charlie Rose. I love these interviews. But he just talks about, like, his script being rejected by Disney. And
He's being talked to because he's not involved in the thing that he created. Like that.
But he said in that interview that he wanted it to be, he's like, oh, it's not a space opera, it's a soap opera. It's supposed to be about family dynamics. And it seems like they rejected that idea. So do you take that to mean that that Luke's not having children? Is that the direct translation in your mind right now?
You're being so literal about it.
I mean, do you want to go into my speculation about Luke's role?
I think so.
I think his kids are going to be Rey, who they haven't given a last name to, and then Kylo Ren. I think those are going to be like the offspring of Luke. And I think one's going to be a really, really bad dude, because Luke showed signs of both, right? Like he tangoed with the dark side a little bit.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the books, I do think that they I know they're considering the books non-canon now, but I do think that they will be taking elements of them. And correct me if I'm wrong. Han Solo, one of Han Solo's kids,
they're not going to go into those kids.
No,
those kids were just thrown into hyperspace.
I bet that Rey is Han's kid.
Could be.
I think that's going to be the connection. Then Kylo is just somebody new who worships the past. But so how do you factor that, thinking that Rey and Kylo Ren are Luke's kids, with the idea of Lucas saying that his plan was rejected for it all being about the Skywalker family?
I think Lucas's script was scrapped, and probably for good reason. But maybe they're holding on to some of those ideas. Just rewriting it in a different way.
Sure, you can have a good skeleton, but I mean, the concept of Jar Jar Binks, like the role he plays in that story, connecting, Naboo to Gungans and stuff like that, like that could have been good. It's just the way that he executed it wasn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you look at things like Finn doesn't have a last name either. Like, what's up with that?
Is it Calrissian? Is that where we're going with this?
Nobody knows. I mean, he could be anyone. And Poe, when they announced Poe, they were like, "Oh, that's Poe Dameron, that's Rey, and that's Finn." And you're like,
Right.
"What's up with those two other characters?"
suspicious.
We don't want to talk about that.
And that's some of the magic of like the older Star Wars movies, is that it's not you're predestined to be the greatest thing ever. It's just that you're a young boy or a young girl like caught up in a big epic interstellar war, and that's kind of what got ruined in the trilogy. Is no midi-chlorians are actually born of virgin birth, and like
Oh man, I'd forgotten about the whole like immaculate conception thing.
Yeah.
That's
the
insane.
Force made
It's a
Anakin.
little Force baby. Just oh my god.
And her name was Shmi.
Shmi, that's right. I forgot about that.
Shmi.
Because he just calls her mom, right?
Yeah.
And then you see in the credits, like, the hell's Shmi? Like, oh.
What's a Shmi? So are you saying, Joe, that you don't think that Finn and Rey are going to be descendants of anybody? Do you want them not to
Oh
be
no, I
descendants?
think they will be. I was
Okay.
just more along the lines of maybe Kylo Ren being a solo child, not necessarily Luke's kid. But now I think about it, the fact that Luke
could be.
has not been seen and is possibly on like this journey to find some magical MacGuffin. Maybe that is more likely that Kylo Ren could be the grandson of Darth Vader and wants to reclaim some sort of legacy.
It would be cool. I would love to see that. Maybe is that too neat though to be like, oh, Rey is Luke's kid or Rey is Han's kid, and then Kylo is.
I think
Luke's
that
kid.
would be too clean because it's like I don't know, Tiny Toons or something like that. Like you don't want just like a 1-to-1. Like, hey, this is the
They would need some
scrappier,
harsh-
smaller version of that other person.
Yeah, they would need some harsh explanation for like why Finn and Rey and any other like interconnected characters have just been abandoned on Jakku and all these other planets.
Well, I think-
and like
Them having the Force is reason enough to
kind of hide them
abandon
away.
Yeah, exactly.
and how'd the Falcon get there? Like, what is Han Solo doing on Jakku? What the hell's going on there? I just want to know how that factors in. It's such a weird anomaly right now.
One thing we want to talk about a little bit because we plan to follow up after we see the movie, whether it's part of the Game Informer show or just completely separate. But we're gonna sort of debrief on the whole thing and talk about it. But it'd be cool to talk about our predictions on how it might be received.
Yeah.
And I know it's so nebulous, you know what I mean? Like, but we can just start, like, first, I think a good benchmark to start from is, like, is this going to be better received across the board than any of the prequels?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
If it's just good, it's got a leg up already. If it's great, people are going to lose their freaking minds over this. Because remember when you saw Phantom Menace the first time, even Andy McNamara, who says it's like the worst movie ever, he walked out of that theater with me and he was like, yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was all right. And then you really
Never
let it
quote me.
digest. You're like, oh, the magic's gone. Oh my God, what was that about?
Yeah.
So yeah, if it's great and you walk out of the theater like, oh my God, they did it, it's going to be like the biggest movie of all time.
Right.
Like that opening weekend's going to be ridiculous.
Oh God, so much.
Yeah, the three of us, Reiner, Joe, and I, we all have tickets for like the
7:15.
7:30.
It's like what would be a midnight showing, but it's like 7:15 beforehand, and it's like, oh man, we didn't do one of those theaters that has like the specific seats. So
Yeah, if you don't have tickets yet, they're doing Thursday night, the 17th. 7 is the first showing everywhere in the States. Like,
it's
get your tickets now.
It seemed preposterous that ticket sales went on sale like 2 months ahead of time or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need that amount of time to mentally prepare for how insane that opening night is going to be.
It's going to be nuts.
I love it that people were flabbergasted that Jurassic World broke and is now like number 2 or number 3 all-time gross. And Star Wars is like, yeah, our movie's not even out yet.
Well, also like it has that perfect. It's basically the Jurassic World audience of people being nostalgic over this old awesome movie, except times a billion. So I think it's going to have that same momentum as Jurassic World after Jurassic World crushed everything. But getting back to like how it's going to be received, Tim, my prediction is like it's going to be a solid 92 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's going to be my ballpark because everyone's going to be super satisfied with it. I think you're still going to have that moment of the trailers are pure magic, flawless, seeing it, you're going to realize like, oh, it's an actual movie. It's not just a pure magical experience. I think it's going to be good. I think by the end of it, it's going to be like, it's a little bit safe, a little bit easy, but a really good sci-fi movie and a lot of Star Wars fan service in there. I just don't expect it to like, obviously it's too much, but to sweep me off my feet again and just be swept up in this religious worship of Star Wars.
All right, here's the question then. They have not revealed any story really.
Right.
What do you think this movie's about?
The biggest hint that I've seen is in that J.J. Abrams Wired interview where he says like at the end of the day, like you get swept away thinking about, you know, all the amazing ships and all the tech and all the classic iconic things that you can throw in there because it's Star Wars. He's like, but at the end of the day, it's a movie about a young man and a young woman and their interactions.
So it's like Titanic?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But it's Rey and Finn. And he was even talking about like there's going to be a lot of jokey tension between Finn and Han Solo and stuff. So I think it's going to be more about that dynamic than we realize.
Okay, so are you ready for this? This has been my prediction for a good amount of time. Given the fact that we've seen the Knights of Ren alongside Kylo and obviously Supreme Leader Snoke in the first teaser saying there's been an awakening, and we start to see people like Finn and Rey, probably they're going to have the Force awakened in some way inside of them. I bet, and I'll bet a few dollars on this, that we see the rule of two Sith broken by the episode 9.
Oh, so do you think that'll be their big risk in some ways? Like, is just to
Yes.
make it so that it's not just Palpatine and Vader, but like, what if those two hung out and they got more Sith and
Yes.
and yeah, I
Maybe-
mean,
So like
maybe
all
not-
of the Knights of Ren, you're saying? Like,
Well, those guys, I mean, you saw a brief snippet of them in the rain, which that scene in particular is disconnected from everything
yeah.
in those trailers. Like, he's like hanging out with like Mandalorians. It looks like Cloud from Final Fantasy VII's hanging out there with
heard
this
he's in
huge
it, yeah.
sword. With
yeah, but once
lots
you
of
get
belt
him,
buckles.
he's only level 1. And it's like Final Fantasy Tactics. You gotta like really invest in it.
My prediction as far as, you know, the Force users that you're talking about, the awakening, this is my bold prediction that, you know, obviously in the trailers they've shown Finn with a lightsaber. I think that's like an act of desperation. I bet Finn does not have the Force. I bet Rey does.
Yeah.
You think
And
it was
that's
just
the
like
twist.
him picking it up, like how Han used it to cut open a tauntaun
exactly
type situation?
Yes, I think it's gonna be one of
Diversion.
those.
My thing is, I think where that awakening comes from is that new. I guess I can't even say it. It's too much of a spoiler. but
all right, yeah.
This
Keep it.
Well,
new,
they've talked about the
new
base.
weapon.
Yeah.
destroying something significant and that causing a ripple in the Force, and
Okay.
something happens. And I think it's not just going to be an awakening with like a couple characters. I think it's going to be a lot.
Awakening meaning everybody now is the Force.
I think
mean,
it's going to be
it's-
like going back to the prequel era of like
It's
there's
not
a
gonna
lot
be-
of people with the Force again.
Was it like the X-Men or
Yeah,
something
I was
like
gonna say
that?
X-Men. He used his device to awaken
Exactly,
the
it's just-
mutant
yeah,
powers.
Everyone just going crazy.
Yeah,
and,
that was his
okay.
plan. And
Yeah, I think
BB-8's
there's gonna
have
be
the
like-
Force.
Like a ripple like you have never seen in the galaxy. That has not hit this
Yeah.
galaxy in
And
a
that's
long,
why
long time.
Chewbacca's gonna like do a fuss roda on everyone basically. with his
It's like
growl.
millions of voices cried out simultaneously. This is awesome.
Millions, but maybe like trillions of voices. Maybe we'll see.
I hope not. I still love the idea of the Force being a super rare thing.
That
It's
would be
always-
so. It would be so. I mean, I like the theory. It's fun to think about, but it would be comparable to the midichlorian thing, where you are making something that's very special and very focused, less special because everyone's got it. You know,
It's like my problem with like Star Wars Rebels. Like I don't like seeing that dweeb using the Force all over the place. Like I like Luke being special for what he can do in the original trilogy.
But even then, to bounce off of all that, a lot of people have gotten confused already because we see Han saying, you know, it's real, all of it, and everyone's saying like, well, how can people not know about the Jedi? And this all just happened within the last century or so.
I think they're probably bringing that up when they see Kylo Ren doing some crazy stuff, and they're like, "What's up with that dude?"
Yeah, but I think like this theory of, you know, more Force users than we're used to, the small handful, is that way that we're bringing the realization. Because even since A New Hope, Alec Guinness says the Force resides in everything, in every living creature, and that just seems like a great spring point to open this.
That's what I'm saying.
floodgate.
Yeah, and I think the name of the movie itself speaks to it's not just going to be maybe one character, but here we go.
and if that's what they do, then it's like they have to do the Sith thing, like where there's more Sith, because like otherwise it'd just be this totally imbalanced thing.
Right.
You know, if Awakens means more Force users, then yes, it has to be more of both.
But I think talking about Han Solo being like it's true, all of it. Like I love that idea, and I feel like the summaries I've read of the books, at least, and stuff in between leading up to the Force Awakens, has hinted at this. Just like how much the remaining parts of the Empire are trying to like lock down an information, like not trying to spread word about the Emperor's death and whatnot. And I think they've done a good job. My theory is that they've clamped down really hard and so kind of like whitewashed exactly what's happened with the rebels and with Luke and everything. I think it's just like this old wives' tale of like, yeah, there's this one Jedi user and he was awesome and he saved everything.
Yeah, we've seen that in Star Wars Rebels when Tarkin's on there and he's like talking about like, there's no Jedi.
Right.
Yeah, he has a Sith Lord like with, or a Inquisitor
Trying
with
to control
him,
the
right?
message. Yeah.
That's it, because I thought that was just an inconsistency, I guess, between
No,
New
he's
Hope
trying
and
to-
Rebels. But I love the idea that like he's just like lying in
Exactly.
the original
yeah.
trilogy.
To his own people too.
That's
It's
interesting.
Crazy. Yeah.
That makes me like Rebels more.
Huh. Yeah. I guess we'll have to see the damn movie.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
What,
but
4 weeks? 3,
yeah,
4?
it's super
Coming
close.
up, man.
Oh,
It's,
man,
it's
exciting.
really, really close. And just to give people a roadmap, because I wanted one before I did the research, because it's all like, you hear about the anthologies and the stories that they have coming up, but just for a roadmap of the Star Wars future we had ahead of us, obviously, Force Awakens coming up soon. Rogue One then is December 16th next year. Then Episode 8, directed by Rian Johnson, is May 26th, 2017. That's a quick gap
This
between
is
Rogue One
awesome.
and Episode 8.
Marvel-esque.
Yes.
They're already filming that, by the way. There's set leaks of Episode 8.
Crazy. Then the Han Solo solo picture by Phil Lord and Chris Miller of Lego Movie fame, obviously. May 25th, 2018, so that's a year after Episode 8. Then Episode 9 is going to be sometime in 2019, and that's the Colin Trevorrow. But I didn't realize that Episode 9 was being written by Rian Johnson,
Yeah.
the Episode 8 director. That gives me more hope, a new
And
hope
he's
compared
been-
to Jurassic World's
JJ
success.
did an interview where he was talking about working. He showed Johnson the movie early on, and they talked about it, where they wanted to go, and he sat down with Lawrence Kasdan and like, okay, we want to do this, and he said, yeah, we're all on the same page.
But now after the Han Solo movie, Kasdan is stepping away because he co-wrote it with his son. And
which is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. So then Episode 9 is going to be on its own, and the Boba Fett movie in 2020, that in theory will also not have Kasdan.
That'd be
involved.
awesome. I mean, one thing I wanted to ask quick, especially Reiner, if you finished it, but I never made it through Star Wars Aftermath.
Oh, it's the worst
It
book.
seems like-
it's terrible.
Okay, it did stay bad because I could not. It was so scattered, and it's one of the. I mean, like I read the original like Han Solo trilogy and stuff, and it's a bad book. But with that in mind, like, would you be down for spilling what you think is like the most interesting or important canonical elements?
I don't
of that?
even know. Like,
Yeah, you
I
didn't-
don't even think there is important stuff that happens
Yeah?
there. I mean, most of the important stuff I've seen is in the comic book
comic
Shattered
books.
Empire,
Okay.
which just finished and shows kind of where Luke goes.
Okay.
Really, it just seems like Aftermath is setting up the context of, well, the Empire's remnants are still here.
Yeah,
and
that's probably the biggest.
it's not a big
thing.
celebration.
But
yeah.
the comic book idea is that Luke does like, I know he steals a force tree or something. And he's like, he just needs to go take time by himself. Is that where they go with it?
Kinda, yeah, and they establish where Poe Dameron comes from.
Okay.
And kind of what's going on with the Empire again in that kind of aftermath. And it's, yeah, I mean, blowing up a second Death Star seems like a big thing, but in the grand scheme of things, the big takeaway is it's still a very small victory for them. And yes, the Empire is reeling and trying to figure out what they're going to do next, and the Rebels have momentum, but they're still outnumbered by the Empire.
Right. Yeah. Huh.
God, I'm looking forward to this movie, you guys.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be great.
I didn't realize.
At least just going to see it, like the build up, all that, it's worth it at this point,
you
right?
only get
Like it's
these
super
every
fun.
once in a while.
Yeah.
You know?
Tim,
Yeah.
what's your Rotten Tomatoes prediction?
High 80s.
Okay. Where were you guys at?
85.
85, Joe?
I'll do 90.
Good.
Same.
I'm gonna say
We're all optimistic.
I'm going to say critical on the critic side, it's going to be an 80, and on the user side, 85.
Okay.
Or
That's
fan
solid.
side, 85.
Solid
right.
prediction. Great. Well, is that it for Star Wars
We'll
Chat?
have to follow up.
We will. We promise to follow up, but thank you so much for listening to the Star Wars Chat and tuning in to kind of a funky, different version of the Game Informer show, what with people calling in. We talked about a gazillion games.
We did.
We did it all. So thank you so much for sticking with us, and be sure to watch or listen to us again next week.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. See
Happy
you next week.
Thanksgiving. Bye.